All right, here we go.
Okay.
All right, everyone. David Saturday Night Sitback is excited to welcome Shaneen Larsen to the show. Shaneen is an NCSF personal trainer. We both were born, or at least I know you were in California at some point. I was as well, but we are now here in Austin, Texas. Shaneen competed for over 5 years, ending as a nationally qualified MPC competitor in bikini. She's also a snowboarder, a golfer, a 5:30 a.m. sniper, and much, much more. Shaneen always wanted the physique that most people dreamed about. 6 months after making that decision, she was on stage with a crazy transformation, followed by another transformation the following 6 months after that. You spent a lot of time and money on this transformation and have no shame about it. You've been patient. You don't give up easily. And she's been able to look in the mirror and like the person she sees in the reflection. She's healthy, grounded, strong, humble. And today, you on your episode of David's Saturday Night Sitback.
Wow, did some digging in that one.
I did a little bit.
Okay.
So you are probably the person who posted the most. Going through your Instagram page took some work, because most people, they'll have like 50 pictures on there, 100 pictures on there, and I can sneak through those in about 30 minutes. Yours took a little bit longer, but it was worth it.
I made a weird transition from NPC competitor to mom, so that was a big posting, why the posts like ramped up, and it's actually kind of hard to find the modeling stuff and the competing stuff as you're going through. You have to kind of go to the bottom, but I am going to transition it back into focusing on wellness and health and competing again. So
I wanted to show you two pictures from way back in the day.
Sure.
I have too many notes with me today. Look at this version of Shaneen.
Oh man.
With your horse.
Yeah, I was actually doing therapeutic horse riding. So I was volunteering with kids with special needs for a horse club, and that's where those pictures are from.
I had no idea that was a thing. So how does that work? You're holding the horse and you're teaching the kids to ride, and it's therapy for them?
Exactly. So there's a therapist who is usually standing next to them, and there's different games, and I'm leading the horse, so I'm just making sure the horse is staying calm, and I'm also following the therapist, her directions and stuff. And the kids are real simple games, because some of these kids are severely autistic or with Down syndrome, and was one of the coolest things I've ever experienced.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Could you see almost an instant transformation in the kids, whether it was just the joy from the riding, from playing the games?
I cried probably every session there, because right when they get on, some of them were nonverbal who became verbal. Wow. With excitement and joy, and just you could definitely see a change in canter with them and the horse, which was really unique, because the horse, they're as smart as your dog, your best friend and stuff, if not more. And they could always tell like that a normal rider isn't on them, that they had to be extra cautious and take care as well. So
they had that instinct to protect the rider.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Big time.
Yeah. That's cool.
Or kick them off.
That's awesome. Is this in San Diego?
This is in San Diego. And Sunshine Therapeutic Horse Ranch with Stephanie Mitchell. That's who I went with. And this girl, actually, she was a old Chargers cheerleader. And she used to volunteer. Cool. Her name is Tawny. So. And
you said you volunteered, or how'd you find out about them?
My roommate, Kelsey, was working with her, and I've always been in admiration of horseback riding and horses. And so I asked if she needed some volunteers, and she said, yeah, of course, always. So I met out, and once a week, I'd went out there and did the horse thing with her.
Yeah.
It was fun.
I have one more picture for you.
Sure. Uh-oh.
And this one is going to fast forward us to much more in the future.
Okay.
And then we'll go back, because I wanted to ask you a few questions about growing up. But here's another picture of you.
Okay.
A much different person.
Much different. Much different.
And these will be on YouTube as well, so people will be able to see exactly what we're looking at.
Yeah, sure.
What do you think is, as you look at yourself from 2012, I think these were from, right? Does that seem right?
Yep.
And
was in San Diego.
Was this 2016, or do you recall when this photo shoot happened?
CWMG. That was when I was in a magazine for these pictures through Eye Candy magazine. So probably 16 or 17.
Yeah.
Yeah, closer to 17 probably.
So obviously, from a fitness perspective, you're in a much different, space here.
I was drinking a lot. Oddly enough, volunteering with special needs kids and drinking a lot. But I was straight out of college, or not straight out of college, but I had just graduated from the radiology program, moved back to San Diego, and was just kind of in party mode, tired of studying and all that stuff. And then fast forward, it was when you want to get shredded and ripped like that, you're not drinking and you're not going out.
Yeah.
So,
do you think that was when you think about one of the biggest differences between these two stages of life? Would you say that was it? Was just the discipline of controlling what you ate, what you drink? Because I imagine, I have a buddy that he did a men's physique competition. I have another friend that's a bodybuilder, and it takes a ton of discipline. Like I feel like my discipline's like probably slightly above average. So if this is above average,
Sure.
I feel like you and my two friends I just referenced, your discipline must be like in a whole nother universe. Because when I want my cocktail, I want my cocktail. And when I want my nachos, I eat my nachos.
yeah, I didn't. I had just gotten engaged, bought a house, was working a ton. And so I didn't really have that need to want to go out and drink and socialize. And I have to give a lot of credit to my husband because he's sober. He hasn't drank. I shouldn't even say he's sober. He's just never drank. He was a part of like a straight edge crew. And what that means is like it's underground punk kids who just look down upon drugs and drinking. And so growing up, he never drank. He's 40 plus and he's still never had a cocktail. And so I've never had the need. He's not the one who's saying, hey, go out. And he doesn't care. Go out and have fun. But it was definitely easier to have a dry house. And when you're working out that much, you don't have time to go out. You don't have, it's gym. I mean, I was at the gym for 3-4 hours at a time, most times. So I didn't have that influence. And we had just moved here we had just moved here from Las Vegas. And so I didn't have any friends. So it was like, I just dove in.
Yeah.
Sure.
So the group that he was part of, was it like just a circle of friends who like gave themselves a name, or was it an actual, it was much more official than that?
Yeah. Fortunately and unfortunately. So he was from Salt Lake City, Utah, and the underground scene there is also tied in with like the Las Vegas underground kids, and they come from all over the place. And Salt Lake City, as you know, is a big Mormon town as well. So in order to have these like punk rock concerts with MXPX, who are, Christian bands, and he can name it, obviously millions. I'm not keen on the names, but they had to do like underground stuff, and there were a lot of fights. So these kids were fighting every weekend. He was in a new fight, and he actually ended up having to go to jail. And I think they were just making an example out of him. Because back then you used to be able to get into a fight and just hash it out with, your buddies and not get in trouble. These days, it's assault, and he got charged with assault with a deadly weapon because he had brass knuckles. And back then, brass knuckles were nothing. Like, those kids they had chain. You saw those big chains dangling from their wallets. Those were not just for fashion senses.
Stop the madness.
Yeah. So he actually got booked on gang related, because the straight edge kids considered them a gang, and turns out they were just a bunch of kids that just wanted to beat each other up and listen to really good music.
So usually whenever I have someone on the show that's married, if their spouse has an Instagram account or a LinkedIn, like anything, I'll look that up as well to try to get some additional context. But as you know, he has like no social, and all the pictures that you post of him, it was usually like you and your kids, or it really didn't give like any information on him per se. So I know nothing about the guy except his first name. And I think he's a chef, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. He's a chef.
Perfect job for him.
Yeah.
Full tats up and down. So there's not a lot on him.
I have a funny story for you.
I will say he had an Instagram and he took it away for reasons I probably shouldn't mention.
I'll ask you off the mic.
Okay.
I'll ask him. Maybe I'll meet him at Eddie V's or
There you
something one
go,
day,
yeah,
and I can ask him
He'll
himself.
deny it.
Yeah, I know it used to exist because it's still all
Yeah?
over. All your tags are still up, as you know. If you click
Okay.
on them, it just leads to nothing.
Yeah.
So,
Oh, I didn't even consider. Yeah.
yeah. So there is a group called the Insane Clown Posse.
Oh, sure.
You know them?
Oh, yeah.
So 20 years ago, when I worked in a gym, one of my my front desk guys he wanted to join the military, and he had a tattoo on his shoulder of the Hatchet Man.
Oh, no.
And I'll try to remember to put up an image on YouTube for anyone who doesn't know this. So he wants to join the military, but the Insane Clown Posse, I guess they committed enough crimes that the FBI now, at the time, started to recognize them as an official gang, which means good for them, first off, congrats. And then second off, yeah. So now you can't have that tattoo on you if you want to join any branch of the military.
Interesting.
So he was telling me he was debating, like, I want to get this removed, but I don't have the money. He comes into the gym one day wearing a tank top, and his arm looks like it got mauled by a bear. It was blue and red and purple and bleeding and scabbed over. And I said, so I see you tried to remove the tattoo yourself.
Just get a cover up.
What'd you do, Keaton? I'm pretty sure, I'm like 99% sure that's his name. And he's like, well, me and my friend got really drunk, and we tried to electric saw it off last night.
Oh, man.
And so I just had this mental image of like his friend just like pushing this thing as hard as he can into his shoulder. So anyways, it healed up and he got an American flag slapped over it.
It probably looks cooler with like the scar tissue and stuff, but that would take a lot of alcohol.
Yeah.
I've never done anything that crazy.
Yikes.
Yeah. Insane Clown Posse, they're huge where I grew up.
In Utah?
No, actually, Paso Robles.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and so I'm sure they have a cult following, big time. I never really got into them, but I was more like a Systems of a Down kind of girl.
I turned on Insane Clown Posse is the fan, right? Oh, yeah, the cult following is it Juggalo or Gigolo? I always get the two mixed up.
Gigolo.
Yeah, the Gigolos.
I have a rabbit hole down the Gigolos and watching them at the festivals and stuff. Yeah. Their white t-shirt contests and stuff.
Yeah. I turned on ICP once for about 20 seconds and was just like, yeah, this isn't for me. I'm good.
Oh, man. Nope.
So before we got on mic, you mentioned we were talking about kids and a bunch of stuff. You grew up Mormon and I grew up Christian. So we probably have some similar values and similar things that we experienced, or sort of like how our parents or how our leaders like.
Don't tell the Mormons that.
Or we did not at all. Well, I have a feeling there's one because we're going to talk about sex and kids and things down the road. But can you give us some context about what your life was like growing up? Just anything significant that comes to mind?
Let's see. Well, my parents divorced at 8 for infidelity reasons. And my mom actually stopped practicing. Well, we all went to go live with my mom, and I actually kept going. And so when I was 8, I was baptized. The missionaries, they just know where you live. They finally found me here in Austin, and I don't know how. But so they came over. We did the home teachings, and I got baptized at 8. And there was a big time where I wouldn't go because we moved around and stuff in different churches. But we finally actually moved into Camarillo, which is between like Santa Barbara and LA. There's like a town, Camarillo. And living across the street from me were our neighbors, and they were a part of the church. And so they would take me. And I went all 4 years of seminary, which is you had to show up at 5 a.m. at the church before school and listen to your lesson, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior year of high school. And then you'd go to school and do your things. And then you had activities. You had young women's, then they had the young men's, and then they had the group activities and lots of church dances. Went to lots of church dances. But my junior year of high school, at the end of it, that summer, I actually decided to go live with my dad, who was practicing. And when I was like forced to go, it made me not want to go anymore. And he had gotten remarried, and there was a girl who was my age, my stepsister at the time, and she was, a little she was just a lot more fun than I was, and that's when I kind of got into boys and drinking and going to parties, and eventually, when I graduated high school, moved out, I stopped. My oldest brother went on his mission, and that was right around the time I actually decided to I just stopped going, kind of thing. So I wasn't practicing it as it was. So, yeah.
So a little bit more intense than at least how I was brought up, in the sense of like, I was never going to church at 5 a.m. or doing seminary, as you called it. We went to church on Sundays, lasted about an hour to an hour and a half, youth group on Wednesday nights, and then we would sometimes go to a prayer meeting on Saturday night. But that was very hit or miss.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was life. That's just how you were, or that's how we were raised. That it was the more you went, and I actually enjoyed it for the most part. I had a lot of friends in it. I didn't realize until I was a lot older and how much how damaging it was. So
yeah,
little retrospective.
What did you find damaging about it?
You're especially as female, you're taught to not question anything. I mean, you follow your leaders, you follow the head of the house, who's your father. And so in that, I carried over into my real life, where I didn't question the government. I don't question my bosses. I don't question any authorities, which has kept me out of a lot of trouble, as you can imagine, but I also didn't have a backbone. So in relationships, I didn't question the way I was being treated. It was just stay sweet, stay quiet, which is why I wasn't in a lot of long-term relationships. I had a lot of dependency issues, with them, and it was smothering to them, and I get it, and because I was like a puppy, like, I'm ready to follow you wherever you go, and that's just not real life. So
you were being like over-dependent in your relationships.
Yeah, like codependency, which I still suffer from a lot, but I'm getting better. I'm working on it.
Yeah. Yeah, I definitely, the further away from it I get, I think I was 21 when I stopped going, and it was mainly due to my parents' divorce. And I remember I started going to another church for a little bit, and then I went to another one a friend of mine went to, and sort of similar to you, I just realized that I'm sort of just going to go, and it's not like I was living this like evil, sinful life the other 6 days of the week. So I sort of realized, similar to you, in moving out of my parents' house and in just like thinking about like, why am I still doing this, that it just wasn't for me anymore. And then when I came out of the closet a couple years later, I had some not very nice things said to me by some of my closest friends. So that definitely drove me away too. And that's when I started just not really even questioning, but just thinking about like, there's got to be another way than the Christian way.
Of course.
But when you're born into it, it's so second nature. And then you've been going to church 3 times a week for 20 years. Like, you can't just turn that off. Like, it's going to be a part of me, and yours will be a part of you probably for forever, potentially.
And going the other way gets messy. It's like being right-handed versus left-handed.
Yes.
When you try and not be this strict regiment, it just appears messy. It appears like I don't know how to explain it.
Yeah.
Just, when you try, let's say sex, for example, when you're trying to like explore other spectrums of it, it's like, woohoo, let's go and see where this takes us. And it's like, whoa, you still need to create boundaries, and you still need to, otherwise it's messy. You don't know what you're doing. Yeah. Essentially.
So this is a personal question, but I think you'll be okay with it. Did you have sex before you got married?
Oh, yeah.
Did it feel pretty wrong, or did it feel pretty right the first time you did it?
Oh, the first time?
Yeah.
It didn't feel wrong or right. It just felt, I snuck into my boyfriend's room in the middle of the night. So it just felt exciting, and so living with my mom's, I didn't wear makeup. I didn't go out. I was very, I hung out with some surfer friends, I hung out with some skater friends, and that was like tiptoeing in like the danger zone. Whereas when I moved in with my dad and I had my stepsister who was like, woo, we're going to go out every Friday. And the worst part about me, good and bad about being Mormon, is that you can get away with a lot more. Because as long as you're showing up to church, you're showing up to your activities, those Friday night parties when you tell your parents you're going to go to a get-together, they believe you're going to a get-together. They don't know that you're going to a kegger. And they would never think that you would do something like that.
Right.
So for me, it was just, I felt like I was just I was getting my wings and spreading my wings. So it just felt more exciting than wrong or right. Later, the more and more I started being promiscuous, the more and more it felt wrong. Yes. And especially when you go back to church and you're like sitting in church and you're like, oh my God, I'm going to hell.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I remember being hungover in church a few times, and that always felt very weird.
The great thing is I went to a singles ward in San Luis Obispo, and everyone was hungover in church. And you just didn't say it. You just were like, I didn't see him. That like, you just looked down and you looked the other way. And again, you just got away with it because you didn't do those things.
Right, right. Yeah, yeah. So what was the rest of your 20s like?
Well, I worked at a restaurant. That was the first time at 17, I started working at restaurants. And restaurants, I don't know. Have you ever worked at a restaurant?
I didn't. I worked at a gym, which I know is nothing close, but just to say, I sort of saw the customer service experience, but now sitting in where you work with Tom and also just going to restaurants, I feel like you guys get a lot more shit.
Well, working in the restaurant industry is just, how do I explain it? You get to know everyone's personalities, and the truth comes out as you're learning your regulars, as you are, you talk to so many people in a day. Like you realize like, oh, that guy's here with his mistress, not his wife tonight. And there's little like things that seep out, and you become it. And so working in the industry, my three best friends, I mean, we were all animals. We were all just crazy. And so 20s, I lived in a college town, like Cal Poly, San Luis Obispo was right down the road from us. So we went down there a lot, and a lot of fraternities, parties. I was never in university. I went to the Cuesta College there, but so I spent, my 20s just in college, just living on my own. And I moved out when I was 18. I was able to sign my lease. So I moved out when I was 18 and got an apartment with my best friend. And yeah, we just worked and partied like a normal college kid. Yeah,
yeah. See, I remember one memory. It's a happy memory, and I don't know why this one sticks out at me, but me and my buddy Ethan, we would fill up mug similar to the cup you brought with you.
Sure.
My place was like 3 minutes from Sac State, and so we would go back to my place and fill it up like a third ice, a third Jack Daniels, and a third Coke, and then go back to the main study hall, which the name is escaping me at the moment, but we'd go back to school, study until the cups were empty, and then I don't know what the quality of those study sessions were. But
Where were you? Where were you at the time?
I was in Sacramento.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I lived in Sacramento for a little bit.
What year?
I graduated in 2008. 2009? 2010?
Cool. Yeah, we were probably pretty close. In 2009 and 10, where would I have been? That was probably when I was living in...
2014.
2014 was 2 years. Yeah, I was living like 5 minutes outside of downtown Sacramento.
Okay.
Where were you? In Sacramento?
I was in Elk Grove.
Okay.
Elk Grove. So I was a little south Sacramento, but I worked at, have you heard of Ella Dining Room?
Of course.
I worked there.
I never ate there. It was a little bit too expensive for me.
That was my first like chef ran restaurant that I worked at. And that's when I realized, because I worked at Eddie V's in San Diego, and then I moved up to Sacramento for a year and worked there. When I came back to Eddie V's, I wanted to be in a white coat. There was a big difference between being in the cocktail in La Jolla and being in a white coat. And so I was like, I want to be in a white coat. So. And
you got it.
Oh yeah.
Tell us one of your craziest restaurant stories.
Oh my gosh, craziest?
It could be crazy funny. It could be crazy angry customer. It could
I mean,
be.
I had to give the Heimlich maneuver to this very old man who he kept coming at me and he was just pointing to his throat and I thought he was drunk. So I was like trying to point him to the restrooms because he was kind of had this slouched over, like, I'm like, this guy's out of it. What's going on? And he starts pointing to his throat. And I'm like, oh my God, he's choking. And so I got behind him and my chef, we have a female chef, but his name was Jeff. He came behind me and we're both tugging on this guy. And so I'm being like, this. And sure enough, a big fat piece of porterhouse came out of his mouth. And so that was gross, but it was scary. I've never had to give someone Heimlich maneuver and I never want to have to do it again. But I always have those like shit talking stories, of course. So
yeah. Has a restaurant ever got robbed while you were working?
It's been robbed, but not while we were working. No, it was robbed, and we think that it was an old manager. It was like $14,000 got stolen out of the safe, and it was like, who could have done it? And so a manager had gotten fired a couple weeks before, and they didn't change the locks, they didn't change the passwords, they didn't nothing. And so there's a lot. It's speculation, but it's one of those like, we kind of know.
Yeah.
So
at the gym, we empty the cash drawer down to $75 every night at the front desk, and then the rest goes to the safe. And
they had broken into the safe. That was the part about it. This person had access to the safe. He came in through the front door because there was no break-in. She, we don't know who it was. Right. Walked into the office because whoever it was still had keys to the office. They knew the alarm code. They turned the alarm off, and they got into the safe.
Just using was it like a
yeah, it's one of the
yeah.
Mm-hmm. So yeah, should get a management position just to quit and
steal
rob
$14,000 from the safe.
Yeah.
That's free cash.
Yeah. So.
So we hired this new front desk kid at the gym at one point.
Sure.
And we trained them for a couple nights before we have them close by themselves. And then he was ready. So on his first night closing by himself, he does all of his duties. And then right before he sets the alarm and walks out, he pops open the front desk drawer and takes the $75, pockets it, sets the alarm, and leaves. Huh. So then the next morning, obviously, the opener told the manager, there's no cash. She looks at cameras. We see him take it. And we're like, well, guess we're never going to see Ryan again. Guess who came in for a shift that night?
People are... This is America.
So you'll love this. We pull him into the office, and we have the camera footage queued up, but he can't see the screen. And we sit him down, and we're like, so you stole all of our cash last night. And he's like, no, I didn't. No, everything went great. Yeah, no, I didn't steal anything. Everything was normal. Yep, it was fine when I left.
Did he think he was the register? I'm just going to store this for safekeeping.
Right. So the manager, Christy Sullivan, turns her computer monitor around and hits play.
No.
And I've never seen someone just look so devastated. Jaw dropped.
Deflated.
He pulls out his wallet, throws the $75 down on the table. I didn't spend any of it. I'm so sorry. Please don't fire me. I really need this job. We fired him.
Yeah. You're like, we hired him at the next door.
God.
No, I don't have any great stories. We did. Oh, it's not around anymore. My first restaurant, me and 3 of my friends who worked there, we broke in, and I know. So yeah, we broke in, and there was beer on tap, so we were drinking the beer, and they had old like books and old roller skates and so we like took the roller skates down. We were roller skating all around the restaurant, and we cleaned up and we left, and nobody ever questioned it. And so we've done some pretty. I broke into Subway one time with my friend. That was fun too.
What'd you guys take?
Chips and cookie dough, because they have really good cookie dough. And so we got in the freezer and we just took some cookie dough and some chips, and we probably filled up drinks and stuff. And it was after the fair, and at the fair, there's a Subway right across the street. My friend was manager, so we just walked in, borrowed a few things, took a few things. Sorry, Subway.
Borrowed a few things.
We were young. We were so young and dumb, and you just, don't think you're going to get caught for anything. So
Here's a bit of irony for you.
sure.
I've never broken into somewhere,
Okay.
but I didn't have a lot of money as a teenager, and I stole a lot of Christian CDs from Target. And it's just so funny that I was stealing worship music. Like,
And then you were going to have it uploaded, streaming somewhere else, pirate it on top of it?
I did.
You're
You know
steal
what?
it and then pirate it. Okay.
I wasn't that fancy. I mean, but I did, when Napster came out, I did definitely steal some Christian music from Napster as well.
I love
Heck
that.
yeah, I
I
did.
was never that tech savvy. Napster was like foreign to me. Like I was just an AOL chat bot. That's where I spent most of my time.
Yeah, I remember that too, back before phones, and that's how I talked with my friends at the time. Yeah,
It's like you just came back from seeing them at school, and then you had to spend all night chatting with them.
Hours.
Now I'm like, leave me alone.
If you could go back and read some of those, would you? Or do you think it would
Oh,
just...
sure.
I think that'd be fun.
I used to keep a book of like, I guess it's a diary, but it was focused on like who I was dating at the time and like letters we used to write to each other in school and stuff. I kept a hold of that for years and I finally just threw it away.
Aw, did you throw it away or did you burn it?
I threw it away. It was like one of those things that just follows you every move and you're like, I was like, just toss it. So it might be out there somewhere.
Yeah. That would have been funny if like some homeless person was digging through the trash, or maybe even like someone was dumpster diving for fun and they opened it up and they're like, oh my God, you guys, we got to read this.
Oh man. Like 100 years from now, I should put it in like a time capsule. That would have been cool. Someone just digs it up randomly 100 years from now.
Yeah.
Like, look at this bitch.
My mom homeschooled us for 5 years and we had a journal every day, and I wish I would have kept those.
Okay.
It wasn't a bit,
Yeah,
it
yeah,
wasn't, it had nothing to do with Christianity or anything. I think it was just like, just write a page.
I wish, I love writing, but I have gone back and I read them and I'm like, what the hell were you like, what kind of manic episode were you in while you were writing this? And they're fun to look back on, but for the most part, it's just to vent, just to get it out. And I don't really need to see it again.
Yeah.
Kind of thing. My dad he's a big journaler. He has like just rooms filled of journals, which has gotten him in a lot of trouble with a lot of girlfriends. So
I am in the process of, it's much different, but I'm in the process of getting all of the first 50 episodes off the web and putting them onto a hard drive.
okay.
And I just want that for me.
Yeah.
Partly just in case, like if the company that basically like houses the podcast, if they were ever to like go under, let's say, right?
Yeah.
Like, sure, the podcast would disappear for a few weeks, but I would have all the data. I could get all the episodes back onto Spotify and back onto Apple Podcasts. But part of it too is just like, I don't know, when I die, what if like my nephew, like one of my nephews, I think has listened to every episode. Like he might very much cherish that, getting that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I have my in-laws. They have a huge farm out in Utah, and we went there to visit. And in one of their barns, they have like wall to wall just stuff, like old paperwork, old furniture. And I just think it's so fascinating because this is 120 plus years old of stuff that their parents. And I just think it's so fascinating. I wish I could go through it all, but it would take a lifetime. And they'll probably just end up demoing it and throwing it out, which is sad. But yeah, I used to look at old people too, and I just think like, oh man, I gotta take care of this old guy. He's not gonna be able to hear me. I'm gonna have to yell over him. And I just look at him and I'm just like, man, I bet you have some amazing stories. Like, I just have a whole different outlook on the knowledge that other people carry now.
It's really
That's
funny
cool.
you bring that up because I've been thinking I need to get some old people on this. I haven't had just like some old timer come on and talk about anything. I would just, even if we just sat here and just talked about nothing for 2 hours, it was just them telling stories and me asking a few questions about them. Like, that'd be fun.
I had a guy, it was his 80th birthday, and his wife had come up to pay, and I kind of mentioned something along the lines like, wow, I bet you he has some stories. And she goes, he's a Vietnam vet. And I was just like, tell me more.
Yeah.
But
like I'm starting a podcast right now so I can
Yeah,
talk to your
you
husband for
yeah.
hours on end.
Yep. So, yeah.
So one of the things I found on one of your Instagram posts, I sort of mentioned it in your intro,
Sure.
that you got to a point in life that you could look in the mirror and like what you saw in the reflection. So do you remember when you were a teenager, when you were in your 20s, did you like the person that you saw in the mirror, or did you even have those types of thoughts? Or
I just grew up in this what's the right word? I didn't have a lot of mentors. I went to 7 different elementary schools. I went to 2 different junior highs, and I went to 2 different high schools.
Oh my God.
So for me, it was always like I was the new girl. And so I never invented who I was. I never reinvented, because I just thought, oh, I'm probably not going to be here next year. We're going to move. And so I kind of just kept my head down, and I was always just kind of, I leaned in on my brothers and my mom for the most part, because she, you know, I don't know what that saying is, but she hung the moon in my eyes. And she met my stepdad, and that's when I kind of had to find my own identity apart from her and stuff. But she also was so she was a country line dance instructor. Oh. So I grew up country dancing, and which is one of my favorite escapes, that and working out. And so I was always surrounded by kind of this country limelight and stuff. And I was very much like a tomboy. And so, back to your question, was I didn't like what I saw just because I didn't know how to do my hair, and I didn't wear makeup, and I played a lot of sports, but I was never on the varsity team because I was the new girl in school. I never got to, I was really good at a lot of things, a lot of sports, a lot of dancing stuff, but I never excelled in one of those. So it was just hard I just didn't know who I was.
Why did you change schools so many times? Was it move related?
Yeah. So when my parents split up, it was just kind of where my mom could get a job. It was where, the housing, you know, at one point we were staying with one of her friends in Thousand Oaks, and then the next year she'd find an apartment in Moore Park, and so it was just always constantly changing school.
How many siblings did you have?
I have 4 altogether, well, including myself, so 3.
Where, what's the age range, and where are you in it?
So I'm second oldest. My brother, he's 2 years older than me.
Okay.
He lived with my dad when my parents divorced. And then I have a younger brother. He's 5 years younger than me. And then he's 3 years younger than me. And then I have a younger sister, and she's 5 years younger.
What's what's the 4 of your guys' relationship like in these days?
We're a lot closer now. When I moved to Texas, my sister was in a horrible relationship. And so we were like, you need to move far away, because she was living in LA in Northridge, and she was going to move up to Paso Robles with my brother, and we're like, no, you need to move far away from this guy. And so she did, and he never followed her. So, you know, she knew it was over. And when she moved out here, my parents decided they were going to buy a house in Michigan, and they decided to move to Texas, kind of surprise us. And me and my sister at that point, we had settled down, and we were both in serious relationships, engaged and stuff. And then my younger brother, they lived in Utah, and they wanted to get out of Utah for obvious reasons. They also just got out of the church as well. And so my older brother's still in Utah. He lives in Syracuse. And then my little brother and they all live here now in Texas. So we see each other a lot now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm hoping that I would love it if my family all moved here. I have a sister in New York.
Just work on it. Keep working on them.
I will. My mom would be the hardest one. I think I could arm wrestle my brother's family out here. My sister in New York, I'm not so sure. She just moved there, so I feel like she'll need to stay there a couple years to determine, like, do I like it here? Do I hate it? And she's in Manhattan, so she's like in New York, or at least as far as I understand it. And then I have a sister who still lives at home. She's just turned 19. And another sister that's in the process to moving Los Angeles to be part of the dance scene.
Okay.
So she would be a tough one, too, because if she gets really integrated into the dance community, I could see that keeping her there for quite a while.
Right. Yeah. I feel like Austin is turning into the new Hollywood, though. So there might be more dance opportunities out here for her.
You never know. Why? So why do you think that? What's your take?
The comedy scene coming in.
Yeah.
It's like the Joe Rogan wave of all the comics coming here. And with and then obviously Tesla with the technology coming here.
Yep.
Oh, so maybe it's not the Hollywood. Maybe it's the new Silicon Valley / in degenerates. The comedian degenerates.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Which I love, by the way.
I do too. I love the comedy scene, and I don't take advantage of it like I wish I did. We have access to all these, and some of it's like one of my buddies. Shout out Nat Rogachevsky, who is on the show. He hosts a free roasting night every Sunday night at the Creek in the Cave. Okay. My excuse for not going to that one is it starts at my bedtime, which is 10 p.m.
Fair. That's usually when I start working.
You start at
I
was like, oh my God, I mean, how late are you open?
That's when I'm about to get off of work, I should say. But
yeah, you're getting off of work, so you probably want to go home. I don't like leaving him at 10 or just being out. I'm an old man. I'm an old man on the inside, or an old soul, as they say. Yeah, I'm not part of that party life post.
Yeah. My schedule's just I work nights, so I'm not up with a normal crowd, anyways, and I'm not out with a normal crowd at night either. So.
Yeah. So when you in another one of your posts mentioned that you decided that you wanted to compete, and 6 months later you were on stage. Do you recall what year that was?
I think it was 2015. I had just moved out here from Las Vegas, and my two friends in San Diego, they had started like a team. So it's when hashtags became really popular on Instagram, and they were like hashtag team such and such to compete. And I actually was really jealous. And because I played, she played lingerie football, and we were just about to start a new lingerie football. I don't want to call it a league, but it was the guy who originally had started lingerie football league. He was going out on his own, and he was going to start a new league, but it wasn't going to be lingerie ish. It was going to be a little, I think we were still going to kind of walk around naked, but so I was playing football with her. And so that kind of came to a halt. I moved out here. So her and another friend, they were going to start competing. And I was like, I want to do that. And I had already been in the gym for years. And it was just one of those, my husband found my trainer, because he was like, well, if you're going to do it, do it. And I'm a Libra, true at nature. Like, I have all these ideas. I will ride your coattails. But to be the headway to do stuff, I have this moment always where I'm like, I just can't pull the trigger. But if you pull the trigger for me, I'm going to be the best at it. And so my husband actually found the trainer, made the appointment with her. She came to the apartments. We sat down. He paid her the money because, I had the money. But he just handed it over because it's pretty expensive to get into. And we started, and I got good at it. And I made sure that I stayed good. I just did the things. So
is he pretty good at that? Do you guys, is that part of your dynamics that works well? Is that he knows that if he can tell you want something, will he sort of give you that, help nudge you towards it?
Yeah, he's trying to not do that, but I always have to remind him that this is how I work. I work better when he does do it. So I'm not proud to say that I can't, but I don't know. I just can't do it. So, even with you contacting me on Instagram and stuff, it took me like, oh man, I haven't been in the industry for a while. I still work with my trainer. We do the food prep and stuff but I just felt, what's that called where you're,
like hesitant or more like
fake, they call it something, like not fake it till you make it, but imposter syndrome.
Oh.
So I was like, I can't go on this podcast. I haven't done it. And then my trainer, she just looks at, and my husband, they both look at me and they're like, nothing has changed. Like, even if you start competing now, like you just roll back into what you know, and you're a certified trainer, and you meal prep clients every day, all day long. So I was like, okay, fine, I'll do it. So, but it just takes some push. And then once I'm in, I'm kind of like, all right, I'll do it.
We'll come back to this, but before I forget, you were a trainer. When did you get certified? When did that happen?
I got certified after competing because my trainer offered me a position at her gym, Metroflex, and I wanted to do it. And so I randomly just got certified in 2017. and I've just held it ever since.
Got it. Have you trained people?
I've trained a few people. It's not my favorite thing to do. I'd rather do I like doing the food part of it, the nutrition side. I like getting, figuring out people's macros and intake and getting on good diet. I like the diet side of it.
Yeah.
Sure.
I have a friend who he's working front desk at a gym, and he just got licensed, and he doesn't want to train people, but he also needs to increase his income, and so until he moves out of his parents' place. And so I'm curious to see how he'll do, because it's funny that he doesn't like it, because he is, I think, one of the more gifted trainers I've seen.
Really?
Just the way first off, how he talks to people, because that's a huge part of it. Like, you're 50% therapist to these folks, maybe 60% therapist.
My poor trainer, I'm like, you need to charge more, because that's exactly what she is. I mean, I'll give an example. I was on the floor, like punching the floor, because I was at the end of competing. It was towards the end. I was on my last show. I didn't know at the time, but it was. And she just looks at me and she goes, "Are you done? Get back. You have more to lift." And I'm just like, I hate this, and I can't do this. And then I got up and I just kept going. But you have those moments, and she was just right there to be like, hey, maybe you need to slow down and take a break and reevaluate this. And that was kind of the perfect opportunity to stop and maybe have a kid, which is what I did.
Were in that moment when you were hitting the floor, was it overwhelmed? Did you not hit a PR? Like, what do you recall? I
was just exhausted. I was mentally, physically, I was drained. I was frustrated from competing itself. And I mean, we can get in, I'm sure we'll get into all that, but how the judging goes. And so you just feel, you get to a point where it's like, why am I doing this? And I know now what I didn't know then. What I know now is that I actually have rheumatoid arthritis. And so I wasn't treating that at all. I just thought they were regular aches and pains, that everybody felt that way, that you had to get help out of bed. Like, I just thought that's what it was to train this hard. And it wasn't at all. And so now getting back into working out and thoughts of shows coming up is like, gosh, I wonder how much further I can go now that I'm not in all this pain.
Is it the rheumatoid arthritis, hand related?
I have a little bit in my hand, but mine is in my spine. So my T-spine, they're called osteophytes. Basically, if you don't treat the inflammation, you create these little spurs in your bones, and your bones basically start fusing together. And that's kind of what was happening in my lower back, in my mid back. And more recently, I have it in my hand, but it's actually kind of getting better. Cool. I'm on really expensive medication for it, so it better be working.
Yeah.
So it's working.
And you got this stuff in your back treated?
So it's all hand in hand with the medication that I'm on. It helps. It just helps. It helps with the inflammation. So as long as I'm not inflamed, I'm not creating more osteophytes, my back is able to freely move without pain.
Yeah. Okay, good.
Which is great, yeah.
We like that. Yeah. Real quick,
sure.
Before we jump into the competing, and I have some questions about dating, and I'm sure a few random things will come up. One thing I want to ask of the audience is, I don't know if you'll be surprised by this stat or not, but of all of my listeners, only about 1 to 2% have given us a 5-star review on Spotify, given us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, or subscribe to the YouTube channel, which is a really, really low number. So just imagine if even 10% subscribed or left a review. Like, this thing, I feel like, would just take off even more than it already has. So we have made some great segue with the 1% of you who, thank you so much for doing that. I really appreciate it. And the only thing that this is going to quote unquote cost you is that every Saturday you're going to get a push notification saying a new episode drops. So I'm not asking for your money, just 30 seconds of your time, so that we can keep getting awesome guests like Shaneen who come on the show and genuinely talk about how they were raised, their sex life, their competition, and they literally let us go into your head and just find out the good, the bad, and everything in between, so that we can learn from you and get our own internal fires lighted to chase whatever we want, whether it's doing our first competition or bettering ourselves in some way, shape, or form. So with that being said, take a minute and go do that. And before I forget, because I don't know if I've told you since you've been here, thank you so much for being here, especially since you didn't want to come.
I was tripping. I'm having a great time. I'm glad I came.
You're having fun?
Yes.
Okay,
yes,
good.
I'm glad I came.
I'm glad you came too.
Yeah.
How did you and Ken met on not December? Let's see if I did my research right. Where'd it go? November 19th, 2014?
That was... It's a date.
Okay. Did you guys meet on an app organically?
No,
How'd you meet?
we met organically, which is very rare. I know. So I had the opportunity to move to Las Vegas. My cousin was living out there, and I lived in San Diego for so long. I wanted to settle down. The boys were getting younger. I was getting older. Everyone out there is military, and I just kind of wanted to change. So I, of all places, I moved to Las Vegas, which I thought, oh, slow down in Vegas. Yeah, right. And I moved into a sister restaurant. So I was working at the Eddie V's in San Diego, and I moved to the Capitol Grill. And so he was actually he was a broiler cook there. And I walked in, and a part of moving to Las Vegas was I was running away from some exes and trying to just get a clean slate. So walking into my first day at the job, I saw him and I was like, who is that? And my coworker was like, oh, Ken? And I was like, yeah. And he's like, oh, that's Ken doll, And I was like, Ken doll? I was like, oh God. So I had to put on a brave face of just I'm not letting this guy get to me. But he got to me. He's very handsome. And, I guess I just worked some magic, and I didn't know it at the time, but he had a girlfriend, and someone had told me he had a girlfriend, and when I had asked him, he lied about it, and
oh no,
yeah, so
Ken.
I know, yeah, and we kind of got to talking, and we went shooting a couple times. He doesn't know, he's not really good at spelling. So he had texted me touch, and I was like, what does that mean? And he goes, I wrote touche. And I was like, no, you wrote touch. And he goes, no, I didn't. And I go, bet. I go, if I win, you have to take me shooting. And it was a silly bet. And of course it said touch. And so he took me shooting. He actually stood me up on our first date ever.
Wow. And
our shooting date, he stood me up. I know why.
Which is awkward when you're coworkers, because you have to see that person again after you just flaked on them.
I did the ignore thing. I shut him out, and he finally put his hand really hard on the desk, and he's like, I'm talking to you. And I was like, oh, I didn't realize that your time was more important than my time. And I kind of let him have it. And so he agreed. He took me out again. And actually with that date, I was like, oh, we'll just be friends. I didn't feel it was very plutonic. I was in Vegas. I was swiping right on Tinder every night. I was on a new date, a new adventure, a new restaurant. And I didn't want it to end. But then we kept talking. So I finally, I was like, well, if you're serious about that, because he was way out of my league, I'll be honest. I mean, even one of our coworkers, a lot of the coworkers were like, how did you get him? And I'm like, thanks, jerk. And I just thought he was pulling my tail, honestly. And I finally was like, well, if you're serious about this, because I went back to San Diego to visit, and I go, if you're serious about this, you'll be at my door when I land or when I get home from San Diego. And he was there. He showed up at my front door. Wow. So, and then we've been together ever since.
Do you feel why do you think he was out of your league? Because you seem like you're very smart and you're very well spoken and you're very pretty and
I don't
you're
think
very
so anymore, but at the time I did. He was really, I don't know. He was just a player. I mean, it's such an old school term, but he was. I mean, the fact that I found out that he told when he met me at the front door, he said, there's a couple things that you might be turned off about that I need to tell you about, but I just want to be honest with you. And one of them was that he had a girlfriend. And so there was little things like that, which, he broke up with. He said prior to us dating, but I don't think that she thought that. I think that she still thought there was a fighting chance. And I'm sorry. I didn't know.
Yeah.
I genuinely felt bad for her. So.
Now that you're on the other side of it,
sure.
and you're married and that's all in the past, why? So when he told you that, and do you recall why you still decided to date him at the time? Was it because he just
hot
fessed
damn,
up?
he was just that good looking.
He's just that good looking.
Because we had he had love bombed me is what had happened. And I had never been with anybody who love bombed me. And again, going back to, you know, the religion I was raised in, I just thought I had never experienced that. And I thought that was true love, and that's how every woman deserves to be treated. And I mean, the things he was saying, I Googled one of the lines because I thought they were song lyrics. They weren't, but, or Google's just not as smart. Maybe I could put in Chat GPT, it might come up. But, and so I fell hard. And because he kept pursuing me, it didn't end, you know, within the first couple of days. He kept pursuing me for a while. So
that's cool that he showed up at your door in San Diego, because that definitely says something.
Not in San Diego, and back in Las Vegas. Sorry.
Oh,
I had come back from San Diego. He was.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
That's cool.
That's cool.
Yeah. All right. Competing.
Sure. Yes.
Tell me the good and the bad leading up to your first competition.
So my first competition was actually really easy leading up to it, because the gal had gone with, she was a competitor herself, and she had competed with Adela Garcia, who's she has like 8 Mr. Olympias for fitness. And so we thought we were getting like the creme de la creme of trainers, and she was great. But we didn't have a lot to work with. She couldn't go to Golds, where I had a membership, and she was a part of a Jewish community, the JVC. So I couldn't go there to work out because I wasn't a member there, and because it's a members only. And so we were working out of my apartment gym. And so there wasn't a lot to work with, and she tried her hardest. I mean, we were on hills, and for me, she kind of did my diet, but not really. I was already pretty thin, so all she really had to do was put some muscle on me. And then I did a lot of research as far as just how do you cut, when do you cut, and so I cut, and I thought, I mean, I looked banging, but once you get on stage, and the first show I did was the Adela Garcia, and I came in 8th place out of 20 some odd girls. I was last call outs, so maybe less girls, but it was very much a humbling experience. It was just like, I did it. I thought that maybe I was going to be done. I wasn't quite sure if I was going to sign up with her again. And it was a good experience. Sorry, excuse me. But it was very much like, I am not on the same league as these girls at all. Yeah. And I looked good. I mean, I looked good. So could you tell that once you got on stage and you saw who you were competing against, did you sort of have a feeling in the back of your head of like, oh, I'm not going to get first? Or oh yeah,
you did.
Yeah, but you still go on, and you get these, I don't know what they're called, but you get this tremble in your mouth always the first time you go on. Almost every girl experiences it, and you physically can't smile. So you're up there and you're doing this little, and your smile is just so jumpy. And so it throws you off of everything, and it's hard to listen to the judges and when they're turning you and holding the poses correctly. And I didn't have a posing coach either, so I just was watching stuff online, so if you're going to compete, you definitely have to do the right things if you want to place.
I didn't know that there even were posing coaches until I started the podcast, and someone told me like it's almost like instrumental. I guess both words could work.
Sure.
If you're going for first, you almost have to have one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because there's new techniques. There's pivot points that make you look good, and they can look at you and say, don't do that pose because that doesn't do anything for you, or do that pose, and you don't know because you've never done it, or you've done it and someone said it looked good last time. Yeah. So
now the tremble with the smiling, is that only amongst women? Do you know any guys who have competed and if they get that same thing too?
Yeah, I don't know. I've never
just all
asked.
The women you've talked to.
It's just nerves, period.
Yeah.
Like, so I'm sure some men get it. I see a lot of the men come in. You can tell like, ooh, you need to maybe not waste your money and compete this round, which is terrible to say because you're doing it. A lot of people are doing it just to say they've gone on stage and done it, but people they get wrecked up there and they come off and they're so deflated, and it's like, you just didn't have the right coaching. You didn't have the right people behind you. So.
Were you deflated, or what was your reaction to getting 8th?
I was disappointed. You know, I've had bigger disappointments in my life. That was, for me, what very much was like, I did it. I was excited to do it. And, you know, I had the right people saying, hey, this is a learning lesson, especially my trainer, because when a trainer gets with you, they don't know how your body's going to react to their diet or their method. And so usually your first competition is always just a trial and error.
Yeah.
Usually error.
I remember in thinking of people who get off the stage just like deflated. I had a friend who was doing a men's physique competition, and the night before the competition, he just broke down and went to In-N-Out and got like 2 double cheeseburgers, a milkshake. I remember he walked back through the front door of the gym. We worked at the gym, and I was like, why do you have that? Your competition is tomorrow. And he ended up getting 2nd place. And I'm sure you've heard the doctors, or on some podcasts, they talk about how like getting 2nd place is almost more demoralizing than 3rd place because you feel like you're that close.
You were so close.
And so he never competed again. But I didn't realize like even how much water you drink leading up to a competition is important, because I've never competed. So why would I know this? But so, yeah, he always wondered if like that In-N-Out is what did him in, and if he would have got first if he had kept his diet on point.
I bet the In-N-Out helped him.
You think so?
So, yeah. So the night before competition, I was always let, I could have a cheeseburger, and they say keep it clean, which was like, well, what does that mean? But it was have a full cheeseburger, eat all the fries, no ketchup, and no water, nothing to drink. And what it did was, I don't know the exact science behind it, but I would always come in a little bit more shredded. So, but again, are the judges looking for you to be shredded? What they're doing is they're taking the girl that they've already know who's first place, and they're just putting girls next to her that look similar. So at that point, they're not even, if this girl who they've deemed as first, she has what they deem as first worthy, then the girl next to her can't look shredded compared to her. They have to look either equivalent or a little bit less. And so that's how they go. So you can get the most ripped 6-packs, nice shoulder caps, the tie-ins and everything. You can get all that dialed in. But if she's not who they're comparing him next to, she can come in last place. So that's why bikini is very particular on who's sitting there judging. And that was the biggest frustration with competing, is that there's no sheet where it says, do they have this, 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 and this. It's just a perception. So it's frustrating.
That is frustrating.
Yeah.
Dang.
Which is why when I think about competing again, like I'd want to notch it up to go into figure to do something, because the difference is just the posing. I mean, and maybe the drugs.
Yeah. Drugs?
Drugs. Yeah,
Such as?
Lots of drugs. Yeah. In order to be competitive, most girls are not natural. So unless you're in a part of the GBO, which is a natural league, but NPC is not natural.
Gotcha.
Most of the time. And there are girls who get on stage and they're full natural. And that's where a lot of those girls get sponsorships and stuff from, because they may not win, but because they're full natural, if they've placed top, they can get, that's what most girls are aiming for, is like the Gymsharks and the Vitality sponsorships and stuff like that. So. Yeah.
And so after your first competition, you decided to do it again 6 months later.
Yeah.
When did you decide?
When I got a new trainer.
Okay.
She walked into where I worked, and my friend, one of my coworkers, was like, "Oh, you have to meet this girl. She's a trainer. She owns Metroflex. Show her your pictures." And I showed her my pictures, and she about laughed me off, like, "Away, peasant!"
No.
And she was just like, she went through and critiqued everything that I thought was great. And she was just like, "You're spilling out here, and look at your ass is fat here." And I'm like, "Oh my, okay."
How did you feel in that moment? Was it sort of like,
I felt like that's what I needed. Like I needed someone to just be brutally honest. And I was like, "Okay, well, do you want to train me?" And she was like, "Yeah, I'll take you on." So I met up with her. She did my diets. She did all my workouts. I saw her twice a week. She focused on glutes and shoulders, and then everything else I was kind of on my own as far as working out. But that's what we focused on.
This might be sort of a dumb question, but how big of a difference did it make being able to work out at Metroflex together versus in your apartment gym? Was that a huge?
Huge.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Because it's a hardcore gym. So when you're there, you're in the zone. And when you're at Gold's and you're with the trainers, you know, it's still, people are looking at you and why are you lifting that way? When you're at a hardcore gym, they're all rooting for you. They're all pushing you. Everyone's screaming and throwing weights and getting aggressive. So
it's environmental too. It's not just you, it's everyone around. So most of those people at Metroflex, are they probably training for something?
Most, if not all of them.
That's cool.
No, I wouldn't say all, but most of them, yeah, sure.
Will they let anyone with the membership in, or do they almost pre-screen you and ask, like, why do you want to work out
Anyone.
here? Okay.
Everybody. There's a big vet population that goes there. There's a big, just your average moms are showing up, and it's just a great place to just feel a part of something. A lot of working out is community, you know, and so it's a very, competing is a very solo sport, but being a part of Metroflex and knowing that you have that community around you really helps with that too. I mean, you walk in and the walls are just pasted, and I'm on there with all the competition photos and stuff, so a lot of motivation around you too.
How'd your second competition go?
I honestly don't remember.
Really?
I can't think of I don't think I placed, I wasn't first call outs. I want to say I came in 8th again. I don't know why that sounds familiar, but my trainer was also competing the same time, which was kind of a good and bad thing. I mean, I had her there, had her support, but she was dialed in on her own stuff. And again, it's the first time with a competitor. She's trying to figure out what my body's doing and stuff. And I looked great, but there was a lot of changes my third competition that I made, which is the competition I ended up placing.
When was that one in relation to the second one? Do you recall?
That one was in April of the following year. So I competed at the Texas Cup, and then in December, and then come April, I competed at the Ronnie Coleman, and that's where I was nationally qualified.
Nice.
Yeah, I got second, which you say is the demoralizing thing, but the girl I was against, she was a sick maid girl, so a lot of trainers, and rest in peace, but he recently passed away. His name was Dave Shatterly, and he was the bikini king. I mean, all of his girls placed. All of his girls, they looked exactly the same. They wore the exact same color bikinis. They all were just this crew that you see walking into competitions. You're like, oh, that's a sick maid girl. Oh, that's a sick maid girl. And she won first place, but she went overall. So kudos to her. Her name's Lauren. Beautiful, and coming in second against her was I came off stage and I was like, oh my God, I did it. Oh my God, I did it. We did it. I did it. It was a great feeling. So
what did it mean to you? Were you pretty proud of the fact that you got put up on the wall at Metroflex? Because you had a post for that specifically on your Instagram page.
Oh, yeah. I had been I competed with Shay for 5 years, and I actually didn't bring in the picture until much later because she goes, they'll put them up, but you bring them in, and so I just stalled on bringing it in, but she was more than happy to put it up. So, yeah, it was a big accomplishment getting on the wall.
Congratulations.
Thank you. It fell and broke, so it's not on there right now. I got to replace it.
Get a new one.
Yeah. I'm going to bring 5 in, put them everywhere.
Good. You should. You worked hard.
Yeah, that's good.
So one thing that's sort of been interesting about podcasting is that Tom was actually here on episode 1. Okay. And he didn't know me that well even. We had hung out one time, and it wasn't even a hangout. We met for beers and to talk about the podcast, and he helped me choose what equipment to buy, so yada, yada. Anyways, I wanted him here for episode 1 just to make sure that all of this ran properly, that the episode actually got recorded. And he paid me one of the biggest compliments, and I think he meant it too. I don't think he's just BSing me. He said, you know what's crazy about this being your first episode? And I said, what? He's like, you're a natural. You seem like you've been doing this for years. And through doing this, I feel like I've definitely found a part of my identity that I've always been looking for. I think that in my younger life, a huge part of me love seeing people like accept Jesus for the first time. So then when I left the church, I think that just naturally within me, I like to help people. But I spent 12 years not knowing how to do that. And now, one of the moments, I'll probably bring this up for the last time on this episode, because this is probably like the fourth time I said it. I had a kid come up to me in the gym, and he, without giving me any context, he just like waved at me, and I took my headphones out and I said, "What's up, dude? I'm David." He said, "I'm so-and-so." And he said, you know what's crazy is that in your house, your dad was the monster, and in my house, it was my mom. And he just gave me a ton of insights as to some stuff he's been going through.
Oh, wow.
Don't cry. I don't cry on the show. But I think that, and I'm leading up to a question here for you. Sure. I do think I've sort of refound a big part of my identity is that I'm able to help people again. And even if it's not me, it's through your story and the stories that all of these individuals have told. As you, sorry, I saw you tearing up, so I started again. But what I wanted to ask you is, as you were going through those competitions, do you sort of feel like you found a part of your own identity? Or do you feel like even before going into those, were you sort of confident in who you were? And
I think because growing up in so many places, I was forced to be confident. Otherwise I wouldn't make friends. And being in these competitions, there's a part of people that, like Navy SEALs, for instance, you just have to be a certain amount of crazy to be a Navy SEAL. And I think with competing too, you just have to have a certain level of, I'm just not going to give up. And there were multiple times where giving up I could have given up at any time, but I just decided I had too many. I loved my trainer, and she was counting on me. And the little girl, that, had divorced parents, she was counting on me to just finish what you start. And I have a little trauma from it. That's why getting back into it hasn't been a race for me. But I know that it will always be a part of me. The gym has always been a part of me. It's always something that I've really enjoyed doing. And I'm just trying to find where I fit in again. I'm 40, and so it's like I'll be in masters competing if I just decide to compete. And it's hard turning 40, Yeah. And it's hard getting older in general, but when you turn 40, especially as a woman, especially who was in the scene at a younger age, you realize that, is there space for, people my age to do things like this? And which the answer is yes. Of course, my trainer, by the way, she got into wrestling. She's going to be wrestling with Doug. I can't think of his last name. But with she's out of school right now doing that, and she's over 50.
Good for her. And she's just starting in the wrestling scene?
Yeah.
Good for her.
And it's kicking her butt.
I bet.
She's getting it. So,
What did you feel was traumatic about competing?
It wasn't what was traumatic. It was something that happened to me after competing, and then after having a baby. Having a baby puts a lot of trauma on you, and me and my husband went through infidelity during that time, and it was one of those moments where I just was like, man, I was at my fittest and spending a lot of time and a lot of energy into being competitive and being, religious about it, and also trying to be a good wife and work, and all these things. And he was out with somebody else. And so I had this feeling of just like, I don't ever want to look that way again. You'll never see me at my best ever again, because that wasn't good enough for you. So I held on to that. So we went to marriage counseling, therapy, and all that stuff. And a lot of that I've realized, like, it's not about, what he deserves. It's about what I deserve, what my daughter deserves. And I deserve to feel my best again. And if that means competing is for me than because by nature I'm just competitive.
Yeah.
I want to win. I want my daughter to play every sport and be the best. And so in order to not take it out on her, I got to take it out on myself, I think. So.
Well, thank you for sharing that, because that's very personal. But did the marriage counseling, did that help quite a bit, do you think?
It helped a lot. I wish, I mean, like every marriage, it's pick your heart. Being divorced is hard. Being married is hard. Pick your heart. Yeah. So I this is the one I picked, and this is what I'm going to see it through. So
yeah. You really like that phrase, don't you?
I just heard it, so it's like it's fresh. And so my friend Jill had posted it, and I was like, oh my gosh, I can't relate more to that. So
yeah,
because they're, it's not easy being alone, and it's also not easy having a partner. So
yeah. You made one post back in July of 2017, and I wanted to read it to you because I really liked it.
Okay.
So you said, July of 2017 update. Do you know what I'm about to read?
I have no clue.
Let me pick this up. To be and then not to be. That is the struggle. I haven't posted a fitness pic in a whole long while because while the coach is away, my mouth has played. In all honesty, though, I was given time off after my last show. I had my bachelorette party, did the marriage thing, and we just bought a house. So this quote-unquote rest period, although needed, has been a total mindfuck. To normalize yourself after a show is very hard. You either reverse diet and maintain that discipline, or you do what I did. I still meal prepped, I still went to the gym, but I also ate all the foods I craved, even when there were no cravings. I've since then put the donut down and redirected myself back to the path of getting on the national stage. I'm in no way, shape, or form overweight, and I'm not delusional, about how I look. However, I will say, since my goal is to get on that stage, I need to think like a pro, eat like a pro, work out like a pro, and act like a pro.
Dang. I want to be her again. How do I get back to that?
Do you feel like you're not in that mindset right now of acting, looking, working out like a pro?
I am in other aspects of my life now.
Which ones?
For sure. Being a mom, being a good wife, an employee, being good to myself. I'd love to get back to that, especially in the gym. I would love to. And there are a million excuses, especially as a mom, that you can come up with. And so I've recently, even talking to my husband about it, I'm just like, well, that's just an excuse. But I could say this, and that's an excuse. It doesn't matter. They're all excuses. Whether they're valid or not is a completely different story. But competing is when I was, just married and all that good stuff. I was still living on a high, and I was still really active with my trainer. And I think Ken had just gotten promoted to executive chef, and with that meant that we could start growing roots here in Austin. And so before then, I didn't really make lifelong friends. We could have picked up and moved away, and I'd been like, peace, see ya. Yeah. And so it was in that moment, especially, I remember thinking I can now make friends here, and we had just bought our house, so stuff like that, and that's why it was easy to get back on the stage, because I didn't have anything else better to do. Yeah. Now it's I have better things to do. I have more things that bring me joy, besides just the gym. So and again, competing is it's every day, all day long, 7 days a week. So, and where does that fit in with, a 4-year-old and a mother-in-law, and now I have friends. Yeah. So
I have just one more quote I'm going to read you from your own page. The dark side of prepping. I've built a lot, cut a ton, and ready to grind it out for the next 8 weeks. It's a process that has had its moments of frustration, excitement, and let's just bottle up all the crazy and eat that for breakfast every day. And there it is. Worth it? ? The honest truth is we all love the grind, the torture, the control. It's the balance that is hard and the come down that can be very steep.
Yeah. So if you don't, there's a lot in that. I used to ask Ken all the time. I'm like, I'm sorry if I've been crazy. And he's like, you haven't been. So I think I held it. I think what you hear online is the the parts within me that are coming out. But I don't think I really showed them on an outward level. It's easy to write about. It's easy to sit behind a computer and be like, rah, 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 rah. But there are aspects of like when you come off stage, if you don't reverse diet, I mean, you will blow up. You will gain a shit ton of weight, and it's very hard to get rid of. And I was very bad at that because it got to, honestly, when I carb loaded after my first show, I looked even better. The pictures, I'm sure they're on Instagram, but some of them are the day after my show where I'm like, I wish I could go on stage right now. I am just shredded. Although in bikini, you're supposed to be a little softer and you're supposed to look a little more womanly. And I could have gone on stage and done figure and probably done really well. But mentally, it's like you put in all this work. Yeah. Like I said, 7 days a week, 4 hours in the gym a day. I woke up and did fasted cardio for an hour, came home, ate, either meal prepped, took the dogs out for a walk, back in the gym for 3 hours because you got to do an hour of heavy lifting, and then you got to do anywhere from 40 minutes. It was a 40-minute slow walk, a 40-minute stairs, and these aren't stairs where you're just hum. It's hit stairs. You don't get to hold on, first of all, and you're walking and then you're running upstairs, and then you're walking and then you're running upstairs, and you're doing that for 40 straight minutes. And people are looking at you like you're insane, and you're like, yeah, I am. I'm insane. And so the come down from that and getting back onto a regular workout routine it's hard, man.
Yeah.
So, but when you get back on prep, the first couple of weeks they're always a breeze because you're eating the most, you're hitting PRs. It's a big thing, and then that 8 weeks.
Yep.
Whew, that's when and you're taking a lot of things that disrupt your hormones too. So that's a big part of it.
This might be obvious to some, but can you tell us what reverse diet means?
Basically, you start from where you ended. So where you end with, so I ended up on like a keto style diet. So it was high fats, 0 carbs. The asparagus, and then high protein. Okay. And so you have to start from where you were, and you reverse that up until to what you were doing in the very first beginning of your 12-week prep or 16-week prep, however long your prep is. Gotcha. And so you're almost just doing your prep all over again, but reversing it. And that's that way you don't blow up, from all the sugar and sodium, and your body just is like, yes, give me more. Yeah. And it doesn't have that. You stop producing that chemical that tells you you're full. And altogether, because most women lose their periods. And so you won't know when to stop. And then 5 weeks from now, you look in the mirror and you're like, you just ruined everything you worked so hard for. So that was my biggest struggle.
Yeah. Just having the patience to actually follow through with that. Yeah. 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 Stairs, I don't do them anymore. But I used to do 30 minutes. I think it was on level 12, and the goal would be to get to 150 floors before the 30 minutes was up. Yeah. And that was intense. And I was also holding on. So not holding on and doing the hit style. Oh my God.
And do it every day. Do it every day.
Oh my God.
After you just lifted for a full hour, heavy, heavy, heavy weights.
Oh my God.
Bikini girls train like figure girls. I mean, there's no difference in the training style. The biggest difference is the food, is how much you get to eat, and the drugs. Yeah. I know I keep saying drugs, but you do. I mean, bikini girls, they might hit. Can we talk about the drugs? Is that?
Yeah, we can talk about whatever you want to talk about.
To be competitive, the girls, I'll just speak from my own experience, but we're doing Anavar and clenbuterol. Clenbuterol you start taking, and laxatives, of course, and estrogen blockers. That's where you start taking those towards the end. That's when, you see these women who are like, oh, I can't get rid of my love handles. It's like, yeah, well, you have to get rid of all the estrogen in your body. So you have to take estrogen blockers. And that's the last thing to go on my body was my love handles. And you just need to, because women have free floating testosterone. We have a lot of testosterone that we just don't use. And so if you can link it and start using it, then that's where you get the Anavar, for instance. That's where you kind of get this raspy, deep smoker's voice. And so I always find it hilarious. I watch these videos of gym people and they're like, oh, are you natty or not? And the girl's like, oh, and you're like, and she's like, I'm natty. And you're like, oh, I think you forgot to talk about the Anavar you're on or the wind straw. And so, yeah, when you jump up into figure, you're just taking a little bit like wind straw and stuff like that. I never dipped into that stuff, but
yeah.
And then again, that's deep down, it's coming off of all that stuff too. Your hormones are just like, you're crying for no reason and you just feel like oh, we need to get you on a better prescription there. No. So, but there are now, so having been out of it for so long, now there are so many. My trainer specifically, she does not like anyone taking drugs. I did it on my own accord, but she will reference you to places where you are doctor-led now, which is what I recommend. So when I go back to competing, they draw your blood. It's like, Ways to Wellness. I'm sure you've heard of that.
I don't know.
It's they do a lot of peptide. Well, they were doing a lot of peptides and compounding in their own pharmacy, and the pharmaceuticals just kind of pulled it because they're going to use it for their own benefit and charge people. But they draw your blood. The doctor comes in and says, hey, you're low on this, high on this. If you're going to be competing, start here. And then they'll redraw your blood and they'll figure out where you're at. That way you're not doing this game of what ifs and stuff. And so it's gotten a lot more safe. Or you could do it not safe, and a lot of people are being injured from it. So
that's too bad.
Yeah,
because they're just doing it on their own without.
Yeah, they're hitting up Google. They're Googling it and they're trying to figure out how much to take and this and that. And for women, you just need very, very small amounts, and so just pop it in and call it a day. So
yeah, I remember I have a friend who went through a round of steroids, and I'm trying to remember. He gave me the name of the specific one he's taking, but yeah, he mentioned the same thing. Or maybe it wasn't Tren.
Anadrol, D-Bol.
I do have a funny story for you about SARMs. So there's this guy.
I love SARMs.
Do you?
Oh my God, I love SARMs. I could talk about SARMs all day.
Let's talk about. I'll start with the story, and then we could dive into them a little bit. And I'll be curious if you think that the side effect I'm about to tell you about is common or not.
Sure.
So there's this guy I saw in the gym, and him and me would always make small talk, but we're working out, so the conversation was usually like 1 to 2 minutes tops. And one time he was asking me if I'd ever done SARMs. I said no. He said he was just not feeling that great about his body. He wanted to be bigger. He think he was going to do a round or a cycle, whatever. And so he does. And I didn't see him for like maybe a month or maybe 2 months. And then one day I see him in the gym, and sure enough, he blew up. But boy, oh boy, he was a chatty Kathy. Like, I probably ended up doing like 13 sets of leg extension because I couldn't find a way to end the conversation. And he was talking so fast like this, I couldn't even interrupt him to get an word in edgewise to say something about what he was saying. And I remember just thinking like, oh my God.
I'm pretty sure you ran into my husband. That's called pre-workout. That's just the pre-workout.
It's not the SARMs.
No. No. In fact, when my husband takes pre-workout, I'm just like, okay, get it. I got it. He's a big introvert, which is why no socials, but I'm sure it was just a pre-workout. Just like, dude, buddy, 1 scoop next time instead of 2.
I do wonder if maybe he hadn't maybe he hadn't been taking pre-workout for that long, and then in conjunction with the SARMs, he thought, well, I'm going to start taking pre-workout as well.
SARMs are SARMs. I can't think of the name. I don't know what they stand for, but they are essentially peptides, or they're in a different category, but they basically do what steroids do, as far as like binding to. Well, what are you doing?
Sorry. I was looking for my phone. I always put it away during podcasts, but I like to bust it out to fact check. And I was going to look up for you real quick what SARM stands for. I really got rid of it this time, so we won't be able to tell the people.
It's like it's the same thing as it's like something androgen receptor. I don't know. There it is.
Found
Boom. I started off by taking this stuff called GW105, I don't know. And then they pulled it from the nutrition shop that I was getting it from. You can still get it from other nutrition shops at the time, but they pulled it because it was so, it worked so well, and they were finding such great turnouts from the use of it. So pharmaceutical companies, they pulled it so that they could use it for their cells. And all these things are also, you can buy them online, and you just have to, you're using the for animal use only is what they'll say. Even steroids, if you go down to Mexico and buy steroids and stuff, it'll say for animal use only and stuff like that. But be careful. I mean, I don't get them from any website anymore. I actually signed up for Ways to Wellness. I was with, I just pulled up their name and I can't think of it. They did my panel. I had really low T levels. See here, okay. Back on the thing. Your doctors, especially women, female doctors, they don't care what your testosterone level is. They care what your progesterone level is. They care what your estrogen level is. They don't really give a shit about your testosterone. The problem with that is that we need testosterone just as much as men do. If not more in some cases. I mean, it does the same thing it does for men. Energy, sex drive, skin, everything, hair, nails, everything. And my T levels were at a 12, which is is not a normal range. I think it's like between 20 and higher is like the normal range. So I had low T levels. So I take currently take small doses of testosterone. Now it's an injectable. So I got it through through a doctor, through a pharmacist and stuff like that. But that's kind of what they're trying to do is, I don't remember where I was going with this, but they're trying to do that with like SARMs and stuff. They're just taking things off. And I hope one day that female doctors will get better at like hormone replacement stuff for women.
So you're pro SARMs.
I'm pro SARMs.
I haven't had anyone that's been willing to talk about it yet, which I think is, so let me ask you this question. That's sort of on topic, sort of not. Why do you think it's such a taboo topic? Because to your point about like the lady who was asked if she was natty or not, and she said no, and you knew clearly that she wasn't. Do you think it's and this varies from person to person. You're not inside her head, right? So you will never know why she lied in that moment. But is it in 2024? Is it still something that's taboo and that people just like, we don't really admit to this? Or
oddly enough, it's still taboo. I actually asked this question the other day because I was like, I'm just as confused as you are because it shouldn't be taboo anymore. I'm not competing in a natural show. If I was, and if I was, you have to be clean for 7 years, not taking any kind of form of steroids or anything like that. SARMs are, I mean, they're not even legal in they're legal. You can buy them from anywhere, but you can't, if you're a professional athlete in the Olympics or NFL, something like that, you cannot take SARMs. Which is odd because SARMs I can't sit here and take SARMs and get buff. I can't sit here. You have to do the work. What it does for me, and I can only speak for myself, but it allows me to do more. So if I do one rep, I still get just as fatigued. I'm still sweating. I'm still doing the work. But after I'm done with that rep, I'm like, I could do another rep. And I go and do the rep. It's hard again. And by the fourth rep, afterwards, you're like, I could probably go for 5. And that's the only difference I found between not taking SARMs and taking SARMs, and is you just can go for longer, faster. And the recovery rate is exponential, and again, I'm curious to see if I go back into it, how I'll feel now being on better medication myself. So,
do you happen to know much about L-citrulline?
Yeah. I know, so it's in a lot of pre-workouts. I'm more familiar with I know that it's in a lot of pre-workouts. I know that it does a lot for.
Part of the reason I ask is because I stopped taking pre-workout and October, there's just a day where I felt great, and as I was going to my pantry to get it, I thought, I'm not going to take it today. I feel so awake and energetic. I don't need the crutch.
Yeah.
So then I ended up staying off of it for about like 60 days just to see how long I would go. And sometime in early January, I told a friend that I was feeling really sluggish, but I also was like, I don't want to break this yet. Like, I'm doing so good. And so he said, he gave me, he made me his own little cocktail, which is 5 grams of electrolytes, 5 grams of creatine, and he put in about 6 or 7 grams of citrulline. And I really liked it. And what I noticed was that so I ended up buying all the ingredients because there's no caffeine. And I'm not against caffeine. I just like that for me personally. I'm taking less. So I bought all my own stuff, and I noticed exactly what you were just saying, that if my normal, it was usually 10 reps on 50 pounds. I was like, oh, I got to 12 or, so I saw that my strength was going up. Probably the 3rd or 4th day I was on it, I was about 75% of my way through my workout, and I legit thought I was going to have a heart attack. So I finished my set, and I felt like my heart was racing, and I was sweating. And in my head, I was even thinking, like, should I just stay right here so if I fall over, the gym staff can revive me? And then a part of me was like,
no. This is with the concoction?
Yep.
Okay.
And then a part of me was like, no, you should go get in your car. Like, you don't want to have a heart attack in public. And then I was like, should I call someone? Should I call Tom and be like, hey, can you just like stay on the phone with me for 10 minutes? And if I stop talking, call 911. So anyways, I stopped my workout. I slammed a ton of water. I ended up just walking a few laps around the gym, and whatever it was went away, and I felt like my body sort of started self-regulating again.
Sure.
Do you have any idea if that could have just...
I mean, that happens a lot to a lot of... It could be a number of things. It could be that you didn't eat that day. It could be that whatever you were lifting, you stopped blood flow, essentially, and all of a sudden the blood's coming back and you're getting dizzy, and I've gotten bouts where I've just thrown up, and my trainer's like, okay, get back to it. Just maybe you've hit a point in your workout. I mean, how many workouts had you done 2 days before versus, so maybe your body's just at that exhaust point. But the L-citrate, it's in every pre-workout. So
it probably had nothing to do with and like electrolytes wouldn't have that effect on me. Creatine wouldn't do anything like that. No.
No, it might just be what kind of stress you're putting your body into and stuff.
Yeah.
I know L-carnitine you have to be very careful with L-carnitine if you're already very lean. So, because L-carnitine leans you out, but it has brain, it attaches into you have these receptors, and so it blocks certain receptors, and the L-carnitine get in there. It helps lean you out. But if you're already lean, it just goes straight to your brain, and it actually will cause depression. I found that out the hard way because I've never suffered from depression, and I feel horrible for people who have, because I got straight L-carnitine from the nutrition shop, and I was taking it, and I remember just I'm like, what is the point in life? Like, why are we here? And I was like, what is wrong with me? And if this is what depression is, like, oh my gosh. And so I finally did some research, and I found out that if you're already lean and stuff, so some of the stuff you're putting in your body, if you're already at a point, like, stop taking it, because it can have bad side effects on you. So now, just know what you're taking.
Is L-carnitine pretty common in pre-workouts, or is it a hit or miss?
It's hit or miss. So I always look at the packaging. And I'm not very lean, so I could probably take it and get away with it. But I just see it, and I'm like, nope, I'm good.
Yeah.
I'll just stay away from it. If you don't want to take a pre-workout, I was going to suggest just take something with NO2 in it. So any kind of pump, stuff like that, because that's what gets your vasomuscular. I mean, you get that jacked up feeling, which is always fun.
That's what we want.
I hate the tingling from pre-workouts, so I don't like it. So I just take the pump, and I have a little concoction that I make if I really need some energy, but it's not pre-workout.
You know what's funny about you not liking the tingles is I was almost thinking maybe if I start taking this little cocktail again, because I still have all the ingredients, I just haven't taken it since that one day. Getting some beta alanine and putting that in there too, so I can
I'm just itchy. It's like crackhead already.
I love it. Maybe it's
okay.
Maybe that's my crack. Maybe that's my. But when I remember this one time, I bought a new pre-workout and I didn't know what beta alanine was. I thought it was just in everything, and this pre-workout had none. So I took a scoop and I felt nothing. I was like, this stuff sucks. Give me a refund.
So you took 2 and then you almost had a heart attack at the gym. I see what happened.
Yeah, there it is.
Yeah, I've had to stop workouts and just breathe through it because I felt like that before in the past. Just like I'm gonna die right here.
I just had a no duh moment as you were talking. I think I know what it was.
What was it? See?
So this elbow has something going on, and there is a guy in the gym a couple weeks ago who was wearing arm sleeves, just like knee sleeves, except they were on his arm. And I asked him why he had them, and he said, I have like some form of like tennis elbow or golf elbow or something, but I bought these sleeves from SBD Apparel, and I haven't had that pain anymore. So I went and looked them up. They're $70. So I was like, if it makes the pain go away, sure. So I bought them. And I've been wearing them for 2 or 3 months, but I was wearing them that day on both arms. And I wonder if it was just restricting.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Duh.
You're right. All of a sudden, your brain, yeah.
So as soon as you made the comment about blood flow, because in that moment, the other thing I didn't tell you, as I started walking laps, I also took the sleeves off. I was like, get these things off of me. I don't want my body to feel constricted right now. That's
when you do some burpees. And suck it up, Buttercup.
Really?
No.
Oh, I was going to say burpees would have helped.
No. That's what your trainer would have said. Okay, suck it up, Buttercup. Get back to it.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, I didn't know what that's never happened. I've been lifting for 18 years and I'd never felt that sensation in the gym before.
Oh, you're probably not 18 years old anymore either.
What?
So, hey,
that's how I was when I started. How'd you know that? I do look at some of these kids in the gym because I am conscious of a few different things going on right now. And I'm not going to lie, I'm a little jealous of them. They're just in there doing their 5 million pound 1 rep PRs on squats. And I'm like, I'll never, how'd the doctor say it? I tore some rib cartilage squatting.
Ooh.
And this was 3 years ago. And I'm still paranoid about it. Whenever I get under the bar, I get so scared.
Rib?
Yeah.
Rib? Yeah, ribs are no joke. That's painful.
It hurt.
Yeah. It hurt.
Do you have any injuries from the gym?
Tons. Tons.
What's the worst one?
Probably just, it got to a point where I was having to get lifted out of bed just from sciatic nerve issues. When I start lifting again heavy, I get a lot of lower back pain still. So, again, with competing, you have to also do your PT. You have to go to your stretch person. You have to go see your massage. You don't just work out and get on stage. You have to have all the things that go with it. So otherwise, you're just going to get injured. You're working out at such a high capacity and so fatigued that form goes out the window. And unless you have those monitors in place, and you're just going to get hurt. So I got hurt a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to ask you a very broad question. I'm doing it on purpose.
Sure.
What do you think about the fitness industry?
I think it's a shame.
Because you're very involved in it. A lot of the people that have been on the show have never competed. We all work out, but most of these folks we're just like, as I would say, I'll just say for myself, like I'm a normal gym goer. I go, I do my chest day, I sit in the sauna, I leave. But like you've done competitions, you've dieted, you've done SARM. Like I feel like you're very, very involved in it. So that's sort of why I wanted to get your perspective on it.
The fitness industry as a whole, I think it's great. I think the community is great to have a community. I think that the parts that have been monetized, competing included, when Arnold was doing his thing, they weren't making money off of it. They were living in their cars and they were working. The reason why hardcore gyms look the way they look is because nobody had the money to have nice equipment. And so I think that it's been so monetized. There's so many, if we get into the food side of it, there's so many fads. There's so many, and every trainer has the best ab workout. And so when I first started getting into fitness, I liked it because it was hard and I was good at it, kind of felt like. And it was to stay healthy and stuff. But I also think that when you push that down people's throats and you have all these influencers and so many girls get on this train of wanting to compete, for instance, and then they get last place and they're deflated, or they get first place and they're inflated. But good luck. I mean, you still got to go to nationals. And then after nationals, you have to win. And if you get your pro card, you have to win all these pro shows to get points. It's a point system. And that's how you get into the Olympia. And once you're into the Olympia, I mean, I don't remember the fourth girl who came in fourth place. Do you? You know, so if you don't win the Olympia, and mind you, nobody gets paid to do it. Not until you're in the Olympia. And even when you get the Olympia, the only person who gets paid is the person who wins first. So the amount of money that people are pouring into it, and it's just money, which is kind of why my trainer went into wrestling, because she gets $500 a show. Every show that she does, she's going to make money on it. So people get into it to hopefully get contracts with, you know, again, the gym sharks and a supplement line, or they want to start a supplement line, or their trainers themselves. But it is one of those, like, it looks better on screen than to actually be in it, and you're grinding it out and trying to make a name for yourself.
Do you know if I heard once a couple years ago that your social media following can sometimes influence if you win or not? Do you know if there's any, is there some truth to that?
Oh yeah. Big time.
Yikes.
Same thing as like Miss America, or, I mean, if you go and look on who won Miss Olympia, I think she was from Brazil, and the team that she has behind her, it's a whole team, and hair and makeup and custom suits and the tanning, and, you know, and so she's got to put, I'll give her credit, she's got to put in the work, and she still has to do it. But, it's definitely glorified into something that is almost sadly unattainable. So when I did it, I did it just, I want to see where I could go. That's why a lot of these girls, I listen or I read their Facebook posts, and I'm like, man, I remember being there. And you know, they won't tell you what place they came in first off. If you don't come in first, you don't really tell, like, oh, I didn't get first call outs is what you say. And I'm like, what place did you come in? You know, and they're almost ashamed to have not placed, but I'm like, but if you came in 5th place out of 20 girls, that's huge. Like, you should be so proud of yourself, but it's not that way.
Yeah.
So, which is sad.
I'm going to wildly change subjects.
Okay.
Let me ask you a question real quick.
Sure. I was looking for your trash can, and I forgot the conversation we had about it. I was like, why is this trash can?
I'm just nuts.
No, it makes sense.
Would you like a drink?
Yeah, I'll take a drink.
What are you in the mood for? I think I have a little bit of everything right now.
Let's do tequila.
You want it just on ice? You want it mixed with Sprite?
Sprite, yeah. Sprite would be good. It's so funny. You get off the mic and you're like, oh man, I could have said this, and oh man, I could have said that.
Yes. Your mind, I don't know, you do sort of get in a flow, and then you reevaluate later, and yeah. You're doing great, though.
Are you sure? Okay.
I'm out of Sprite, but I have Topo Chicos, which I know isn't the same. That works.
No, that's totally perfect. I keep trying to stop going off on tangents. I'm like, okay, that's tangent. Where are we going?
I would not. You're doing really, really good.
Okay. I'm also very, when you like got teary-eyed with that guy, the only thing I kept thinking of was that I love talking to other people about themselves. Like, I want to know how you're doing. Like, yeah. I want to know what you're up to, because I have found that that's where, like when you say, like, being inspirational to someone, you know, like, I feel like people come to me now and want to talk to me. Does that make sense? Like, at work, I've done this a lot, and now people are coming to me, and, like, I know a lot about everyone at work, things that nobody knows, and I feel really honored, you know, to know these things about some people. But I don't know where I was going with that.
You have the, as my coworker would call it, you have the gift of gab.
Yeah.
You must, if people
And
are
I'm
coming
like,
to you with stuff.
I feel super empathetic too. Hi. Why are you so cute? Oh, thank you. How old is he?
He's 5.
You're 5?
Turned 5 in December, or we think December.
I love that you rescued him.
You know what's crazy? So you've seen his temperament, that he's a pretty calm dog. His original foster owners, there you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Cheers.
Cheers. To a great episode. Yeah, that'll do.
I like it.
Is it good?
Oh, yeah.
Okay, good.
I feel like your mom came in here and decorated. But then you said you were gay, so I was like, no, that's probably him.
It's all me. Yeah, my mom's out in California, and she's my only she's the only family member that I would expect would visit that has not, and I don't think she will.
Your mom.
Yeah.
I need to hear more about your mom. You said you don't think she'd move out here.
It's just hard to... She is the most routine person I've ever
She didn't
met.
decorate your house.
She definitely didn't decorate my house. She had, on her days that she works, she goes to work, she goes home. She's a meal prep fanatic, so disciplined when it comes to food. But so she'll, come home, cook dinner, work her garden, watch TV for 30 minutes, go to bed. So that's 5 of her days a week. And then on her days off, it's, whether it's grocery shopping or more work in the garden, doing a lot of relaxing. She's in management at Home Depot, so she's doing a lot of standing and walking. So her job also drains her. But she's just like so habit driven. And I don't know, I've gone home 3 times since moving to Texas. And every time I'm like, so when are you going to come out and we can do whatever you want the whole time you're out here? And
where does she live?
Folsom.
Okay.
And she just sort of laughs it off whenever I ask her. She's like, maybe not. And I'm not even mad about it because, for some reason, her answer doesn't surprise me. But I do want her... I don't know about you, but because you lived in Sacramento, and I'm not trying to dox where I'm from or anything like that, but Austin is just such a super cool place.
Very.
You got Zilker Park, the comedy clubs. Have you guys walked or biked or jogged the 12-mile loop around Lady Bird Lake yet?
I haven't done full 12 miles, but we do the little one. I've gone on these hot girl walks where you have all these girls that meet up and we just walk around. And I used to walk it when I was pregnant a lot. I took the dogs out there. I have 3 dogs, so it's really hard to get all 3 of them anywhere. So I got to pick and choose my battles with them too. So.
Are they walk? Do they have stamina? Could you take them for a couple mile walk?
No. They used to. Not anymore. They're a lot older. My little one probably could. He loves the water, surprisingly. So if we take him down to the water, he'll play in the water until his arms are just red and raw, and he loves water. But the other ones are just no, stick their nose to it.
I almost think Thad had some sort of water trauma maybe before I got him because he does not like it.
No.
He's fine with baths. He tolerates them. But the few times I've taken him to rivers, ponds, he's seen the ocean. He loves the sand.
Okay.
But he won't get near that water.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. Even in I brought him to a very slow moving river where it was almost still. I was like, how is there not more mold in this thing? And I thought maybe I can get him to go in. It's shallow. There's not much of a current. And I got in and I was trying to get him to come in because he usually stays right by my side. And he just looked at me like, oh,
I don't know you.
Way,
I don't know you anymore. Aw. Yeah. Dogs, man.
What I say about my mom that you said you wanted to know more about her.
Well, because you said that she would be the hardest to move out here, and then also she doesn't want to visit you, and then also I'm like, what's going on here?
We're super close.
Okay,
we're very close. So she told me when I moved out
Maybe
here.
She's like me, and you need to be like, hey, I bought you a ticket. Here's the flight info. Come on out, and I'd be like, I'll be there, but I'm just not going to buy the ticket myself.
I wonder if I'll have to ask my sisters.
Is she a Libra? October?
September 20th. So maybe?
No, she's Scorpio. She's crazy. I don't know anything about.
We're all a little crazy.
I only know a little bit about Libra, and I know a little bit about Scorpio, but that's sex related. We won't bring your mom into that.
I'm a Leo, and I've looked it up a few times, and some of it is accurate. I haven't looked it up in years, but one time me and my coworkers were very bored, and so we all looked up our signs and read them to each other and got some huge laughs over it. You're like, yeah, that's definitely you, and yeah, it's a fun exercise to do.
Yeah, we're rated #1 nicest Libras.
Really?
We're the nicest.
You seem nice.
I'm pretty nice.
And the fact that a lot of your clients, you were saying, open up to you.
Yeah. When I was training, the problem is I don't do well in awkward, like, hey, how's your day going? Good. Okay. You want to elaborate? I don't know. I'm here. Like I had a girl that I was training that was very much like that. And I just had a hard time with her. And the whole hour I was just like, and so the therapy side of it, I think I could get into. But after that, I kind of put a bad taste in my mouth. And then I had a friend. I really enjoy training people if I'm working out with you. I have a little more, because I can't feel how heavy it is when you pull it. I think I know what you could bench, but I don't really know. And so when I'm putting on weights and I can see the struggle, but if I'm doing the same weight or like someone who's, mainly another female, if I'm training with her, I can tell when this is getting hard, and it's getting hard for her because it's getting hard for me. Yeah. So I love training people if I'm training with you. But like just directing people, I'm like, how's it feel? They're like, I don't know. I'm like, yeah, I guess you wouldn't know because you don't know. Yeah. So that's the part of the training that's why I think a lot of these group trainers, they do really well at, because it serves everybody, but if I'm specifically one-on-one training someone, I don't think I'm doing this right. And you want to see your client lose weight. You want to see your client be happy with themselves and however long they paid you for. And when they're not, you take it really personally. So, yeah.
What was weird was I was trying to show our mutual friend that we've mentioned a few times. I don't think he'd care if I said his name, but regardless,
I think you have already said it.
Yeah, more than once. I was trying to show. I did a back day with him. He does full body workouts normally, and I said, no, when we work out, we're always going to do something dedicated, whether it's legs, chest, whatever. So we did a back day, and we ended with some rhomboid work, and I was trying to show him some reverse flies on an incline bench with some dumbbells. And why does that make you laugh?
Because I can already see where this is going. It's like the military guys trying to do jumping jacks over in Iran. Have you seen that video clip?
No.
Oh my gosh. They can't do it. Essentially, they just can't do it. Their mind is not connecting to the jumping jack, and they're just doing this weird thing, but I could see him getting on the bench and trying to do them and it not connecting, but that's probably not what you were going to say at all.
That's exactly what I was going to say.
Okay.
So I asked him, like, if it was, if he could feel it. And, like, one thing one friend did for me that really helped a lot was whatever we were training, he would just put 2 fingers on it. Mm-hmm. So I just put 2 fingers on his back, and I was like, do a few more reps and see if you can feel it here now. And he's like, no. And then I corrected some stuff on his arms because he was bending his arms quite a bit and almost doing, like, a pull. So I was like, open your arms out more, but don't lock them. Don't lock your elbows. And as I was watching him, I gave him like all the tips I knew to give, and I could tell he wasn't feeling it, and I didn't even like the way it looked, but I got stuck, and it was frustrating. Yeah. I was like, I really want him.
It works. Right. If he did it right.
Right. But yeah, there's just that you've probably seen it with some of your clients. I was a trainer 14 years ago. I saw it with my clients. There are some people where I think we sometimes forget, we take it for granted because we can look at a machine and sort of just by looking at it, we sort of know how it's going to work, what muscles are going to be worked. And sometimes when you get someone who really just has never put that mind-body connection together, it's hard to get them to
get it.
To get it. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's, I guess, how you know if you're a good trainer or not, is if you can get those more difficult, that's the bad word for it, but if you can help them get to that place,
right,
then you feel really, really proud.
Right. I see, and I wanted those clients that came in that had already been working out for years. That's the kind of like, because then I can push you even further.
Yeah.
And so my husband always say, he's like, I'd be like, yeah, I had a really good workout. And he's like, well, was it a Shay workout? Like, did you? And I'm like, no, it wasn't. Because having a trainer, not just my trainer, but also having her, is your trainer is going to always push you harder than you could ever push yourself. Either because most people who are in the gym, let's face it, are trying to look better, and they want to look better. And so if you have somebody pushing you, you're going to show off for them in a way.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's always better to have a partner or have a trainer.
I love working out with people for that exact same reason.
Yeah.
There's a weird account of, I would say, if I'm being very honest, probably 70 to 80% of my solo workouts, I push myself the way I want to. But I do let myself relax on days when I'm just not feeling it.
Yeah.
But when I'm with someone, even if they never say a thing, I am always just like,
Always.
I need to.
Harder, faster.
Yep. More.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's why I love working out with my husband, but as a couple, I'm sure other couples can relate. Sometimes it's really challenging to work out with your significant other, because if they try and critique you, oh no. It'll go sideways. So
does it go both ways? If you try to critique him or if he tries to critique you, it just doesn't really work out? There's
no really critiquing him, because I'm usually doing his workout. And so it's always him critiquing me. And I can take it, but when here's another bad side of competing is when you've competed for so long and you've been strong for so long, the moment you're not strong, and you have someone else letting you know, hey, what happened here? You used to be able to do this, you know, that can be really like, yeah, I know.
You don't have to tell me.
Fuck off. Yeah.
Yikes.
So, yeah. So there's a while where we weren't working out together, and then since then we've come back together, and I've been able to work out with him again. So
there's something I want to ask you that has only been discussed once on this podcast.
Oh.
And I'm almost scared to bring it up because I don't know very much about it, and therefore I'm not sure how.
How do you know I know about it?
Because you put it on the form that you filled out.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence.
Oh, yay! Yeah.
I'm glad that's your reaction.
I love it.
Let me just start with the most basic question. Terrifying. Why did you put it on your form as a potential topic to talk about?
I don't know, honestly. I feel like I've been listening to a lot of recent podcasts about it. I use it myself. I have my own theory that I'd like to put out there, and maybe someone can answer some questions that I have. And it's about to be integrated. So I've kind of I didn't jump on the crypto bandwagon, and then I sort of did, and I made a lot of money off of it, and I didn't close the deal, and I lost it all. I'm still in it a little bit, but it's one of those things. It's like, it was here. Why didn't I figure out more about it? It's kind of the same thing with AI. Like, I use ChatGPT every day, all day long. I love it.
For what?
Honestly, I first started using it to write birthday cards and Christmas cards.
Aww.
Because I'm really good I know what I want to say, but it's really hard to put it and to make it, I'm not an English teacher. My grammar's terrible. And so I'd put in kind of the details I want to input, and then it puts out this beautiful symphony of that's exactly what I want to say. And now I can write it on a birthday card or Christmas card, and it sounds genuine because it is something that I do feel. And then now I use it for everything. It doesn't give a lot of information, a lot of it. Mine's from 2022, so it only knows what it can get a hold of from back then, and technology moves fast. So.
Yeah. So since you know a little bit more about it, I know pathetically little about it.
Sure.
So a couple of podcasters have told me that I should be using it for my show notes, because they see that, I write a description for every single episode. And part of it is because I was here. So it's very easy for me to be like, Shaneen Larsen came on the show and we did da-da-da-da-da-da. So part of the reason I haven't played around with it yet is because it takes 12 minutes of my time tops to do that. But for example, if I wanted ChatGPT to write my show notes for the show, would I just put in competing? Like, what would I put in
Yeah.
and what would it spit out?
So whatever that 12-minute you were going to say, you could do just like bullets of it. Shaneen was here. She's NPC competitor. We talked about X, Y, and Z. And then it'll give like, it's unreal. It'll just give an entire description. And you're like, well, we didn't talk about that. So you just take that part out. Yeah, we did talk about that. We did bring in it. It'll almost give you a little more insight into things that you may have even forgotten that we talked about, which is wild.
Yeah.
So
I should be using it?
I would use it. And in fact, take one of your old descriptions, plug it in to ChatGPT, copy paste it, put it in the app, and just see what it comes up with. Say, rewrite this in a more modern take, or rewrite this in a more elegant fashion, or rewrite this and focus on the raunchiness of it. And it will rewrite it for you and make it. And you'll be like, that is exactly what I wanted it to say. Or you're like, we're almost there. Have you seen those videos where it's like, and Mormon, because we're talking about Mormons, where it's like, show this American Mormon, or show this influencer Mormon mom. And and it draws this picture of her with her 10 kids. And it's like, even more modern. And then it like makes it where she's in a mansion and she's wearing pearls and all these things. And it's like, even more Mormon. And then they're in front of the temple, and and it gets to this point, and you could keep telling it to even more, until it's this obnoxious, incredible painting or picture or something. It's pretty crazy.
I wonder if I should. I am going to do this no matter what. I have a two paragraph, 4 sentences about the show for, so if anyone new clicks on the show, at the very top of Spotify, gives the blurb. I wonder if it could rewrite it better than I could.
Test it out.
I am.
Test it out.
Someone else told me from an SEO perspective that a lot of, I'm not a copywriter, and I don't know what words people are looking for. So even just from that perspective, they were like, if you start using ChatGPT or whatnot, you might get more listeners just because if they Google bikini competitor, it might come up because it might include, you get what I'm getting at.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing.
Why'd you say it's terrifying?
Okay. So I don't know a lot about quantum mechanics. Okay. But quantum mechanics, there was a guy who was just actually on the Joe Rogan podcast talking about quantum mechanics. And it's basically just talking about, wormholes or creation of black holes and stuff that could basically engulf us. And so I was thinking if AI gets to a point where it can solve quantum mechanic things that the human mind misses, that AI could create a wormhole or a black hole and engulf us, essentially. And so the two of them working together terrifies me. So it's
the two of them being AI and quantum mechanics.
Yeah. So I actually had I had someone come in to eat, and he was a quantum mechanics guy, and I actually asked him this very question, and he looked flabbergasted. He was just like, I guess it just depends on who's working the AI and what kind of information is being seen. Because quantum mechanics, you can see through walls, and obviously there's a bigger description of it, but you get into people's personal things. And so if you add AI onto that and then the science behind it, it can solve at a rapid pace, and it could get to a point where it doesn't stop, and we have wormholes everywhere. I don't know. It's just a thought.
Just a thought.
It's what my nightmares are made of.
That's movies like The Matrix. Did you watch those?
I have.
I do. Like, will that exactly happen? Probably not. But I have wondered if a version of that will happen where, whether it's technology, AI, like something just goes drastically wrong.
Yeah.
And humanity.
And you can't stop it.
And you can't stop it because it's too late, because it's already, but because it's almost like, I'm trying to think of an analogy, but like in terms of working out, like if it's day one in the gym, you don't just become a competitor. Whether it takes 6 months, a year to,
Right.
I don't know, that might be a really bad analogy, but almost like we're putting in reps and advancing this AI.
Yeah.
And then before we know it, we have a bodybuilder on our hand that we can't control because it's too strong. But me and a friend were just talking about this sort of more generically, not really in terms of AI, but like, you're 40, I'm 36, and think about, we didn't have AOL when we were born. We didn't have cell phones when we were born.
2020 might as well have been 100 years ago.
Right.
So
if we've come this far in just 35 years,
and it's just going to get faster.
Where are we going to be by the time you and me are dying?
Do you know what the inverse square law means?
No.
Everything is halved or 1/4. So the distance from you to me is how much radiation, X-ray, it's an X-ray term, but
right.
It's the same thing. Is like it just gets multiplied faster and faster. So if it took 2 days yesterday, it's going to take a day today. If it takes a day today, it's going to take half a day tomorrow. And that's what technology is doing. So you put AI and quantum mechanics together, it just seems terrifying. Have you ever done, maybe you're going to bring up psychedelics, but have you ever done psychedelics?
No, but I want to.
Okay.
Okay.
What kind?
Well, I haven't done any research on it yet.
Okay.
But I just know that so I have a note of 103 people that I've met since I've been in Austin. And that's only the people that for some reason, I didn't think I'd remember. So I went in there and I met Shaneen at this restaurant and we talked about AI creating wormholes.
Sure.
And of those 103 people, probably 85% of them have taken psychedelics. And
how many?
Probably like 85% of them.
86%.
86 for,
just kidding.
It's not even a thing of like, oh, I want to do them because everyone else is doing it. It's
right.
not that.
No.
It's because of what they've told me, their intentions of why they went into it, what they got out of it, things they discovered about themselves, even things just such as like memories from when they were a kid. And I think part of my hesitation in being fully transparent is I have this friend who's like, you're not gay. I think something traumatic happened to you when you were a kid and you just forgot about it. And now, this is how you're dealing with it. And while I don't think he's necessarily right, there are just like, I don't really remember much before I was 7 years old. Like I remember first grade. Mm-hmm. I remember that teacher. I remember a few events, but like, it's pretty foggy, 6 years old and back. And so even when someone just told me they had a lot of revelations, like I'm not necessarily looking for something bad, but I just think it would be cool to have this experience where you just remember your childhood. And I just sort of want to know like what, and part of it too is, and this is what scares me a little bit, is if you ask my oldest sister what she thinks of our childhood, she thinks it's terrible. And I only have good memories. So I almost wonder if there is like some stuff she remembers that happened when I was like 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 years old, right, that I don't have that filter to view our family. And that's why I think our upbringing was a lot more happier than she perceives it.
Well, perception is reality. So to her, it just was she just had a different view of it versus you. And maybe, I don't want to say this. Maybe you were just a favorite. Maybe they liked you more. I don't know.
She doesn't listen to the show, so she won't hear that.
No, there's a lot. I think, again, I know I've brought this up before, but when you get to certain ages in your life, you start to recall. Especially recently, I've recalled a lot of things where I'm like, oh my gosh, I do remember that, or I remember that happened. And it's really fun if you ever get a chance to sit with your sister or brothers and recall things that you both remember. And you can see the difference in how it was portrayed. And me and my brothers, we used to do that all the time. And it was always really interesting to see everyone's take on it. So,
what was your experience? Are you open to talking about psychedelics?
Yeah, sure.
Why did you take them? When did you take them? What was your intention in taking them?
So I don't smoke weed. I have, of course, and it's never really done anything. I get paranoid. which some people find comfort in that. You know, I'm not that. I'm more of an upper person. So I've tried cocaine, I've tried Adderall, I've tried, and I'm drinking and stuff, but nothing has like stood out where I'm like, oh, I love that, whatever. Psychedelics for me was always taboo, always just like, everything you hear about it is very scary, and I've never wanted to try it, ever, ever, ever. And so it wasn't until after COVID, my mom actually tried to commit suicide, and she's a lot better now, sort of. So with that whole experience, it was all these doctors were trying to, what it was she had gotten on an antidepressant and it made her suicidal. She told her doctor that she was suicidal, and they said, get to the hospital. Well, she lives in a really rural area, and so the nearest hospital, they're not trained for psychiatric, so they sent her to the psychiatric ward. She didn't need to be in a psychiatric ward. Well, when you're not in psychosis and you go to a psychiatric ward, you can be very traumatized from it. And there's no doctor there immediately, so all the medications that she was on, she had to stop taking, now she's on withdrawal from all her pain medications. She's on withdrawal she has no SSRIs in her, and so now she's just in the dumps. Long story short, she came back home. She decided that she was never going to experience that again, so she kind of planned out this whole thing. And it turns out it was the SSRI that she was on is known for causing you to feel suicidal. So now she's been on like every SSRI, and for anyone who doesn't know what an SSRI is, it's antidepressant essentially. She's been on every single one of them, and they've just failed to work for her. She still feels the feelings. So I thought we need to start thinking outside the box. And so listening to other podcasts and stuff, there was a lot of talk on like DMT, ibogaine, ayahuasca, stuff like that. And I kept like telling her, like, maybe you need to go on an ayahuasca retreat and I'll go with you. And maybe you need to think about mushrooms and all this stuff. And I started realizing like I can't be talking to her about this stuff when I have no idea anything about it myself. So I thought, what better way to do it than to do it myself?
Right.
So my friend, she worked for Transcend, which is here in Austin. It's a ketamine clinic. And she ran kind of her own personal thing through her house. I won't say who she is for privacy reasons. But and I contacted her, and she said, I would be happy to give you a ceremony. So I chose DMT, which I've never done a psychedelic in my life. And I decided to do the most psychedelic of psychedelics my first time. But again, I YouTubed it. I had done, all this research that I thought I had done, and it turns out I knew nothing. I knew nothing. There's two types. There's DMT-NN, which is the colorful one. There's DMT-5-MeO, which is the frog venom, which is, she explained it as being more introspective. It's the God molecule is what people talk about it. She goes, well, I want to do both with you. And I was like, okay, no big deal. So she had me, for the first one, she had me just take a little puff of the 5-MeO, and I just kind of was in a really relaxed state, nothing alarming. She goes, okay, we're going to do the DMT-NN. So I took it, and when I tell you, it is nothing, you cannot YouTube it enough, you cannot hear somebody talk about it enough. Everyone has a different experience with it, and I was going into it like, I'm going to help my mom. This is for my mom. This is so that I can come out of this and be like, this will be good for you. I came out of it with my own profound revelations I didn't even know I needed, because I'm not depressed. I'm not suicidal, nothing like that. And so the first one I came out of, and I was just like, what the fuck was that? Literally, I recorded myself. I woke up, and I was just like, oh, my God. Oh, that's all I could think of. The colors you see, the expressions. And it's not until about 4 or 5 months later where you start realizing like, oh, that's what that was trying to say, or, oh, that's what that meant. So immediately after that, she's like, okay, do you want to try the 5-MeO? And I was like, no, no, I do not.
In the same ceremony.
In the same ceremony. And middle of the day, you know, just a candle lit was the ceremony. But I felt safe around her, which was nice. And she goes, well, this one is not that one. And I was like, okay. So she's like, this is more of like, you feel like you're going inside your own body. And I'm like, okay, fine, let's do it. So we did it. It didn't work. It wasn't working at first. And so she's like, okay, well, we're going to do the Bofo, which is instead of, it was a pen she had. Instead, she has the one where it's a crack pipe, essentially. And she lit the crack pipe. I took 2 inhales on camera. I only remember taking one. And it was like, I saw God. And to me, the God was a lion's eye. So I didn't know this at the time, but in the Bible, they describe God as a lion. And so it was the eye of the lion just looking at me. And I'm looking at it, and it's in like 15D. And it's white and it's pixelated. And then all of a sudden, I was just blasted into this wormhole, essentially, is what it felt like. And then and I thought, oh my God, I'm going back into DMT land. And I did not want to go back into the colorful land of that. And so I tensed up and I had a really hard time letting go. And I finally relaxed into it. And again, like they say, it's the love and the peace. And you just realize like we're all connected. And when I came out of it, you don't see people for people anymore. You see yourself in them. It's like, so you're the podcaster version of me. And that's the male form of me in such a way and stuff like that. So, but again, it fades and life gets to you and you forget that journey you went on. So I would love to do it again, but it's very terrifying.
See, the way you describe that, even though you ended by saying it's very terrifying, I want to do that.
You should.
I want to do that so bad.
And side note, when I came out of it, the DMT NN is not for my mom. The 5-MeO, I would love. I've tried to convince her, and she's very much she's religious too. So she's like, if anything, it brought me closer to God. It made me almost reinvigorated to know Him, and not in a religious sense, and not in so when my mother-in-law is very religious, and I love her, and she's how we should all be, but even her, I'm like, you're only scratching the surface of what God really is, you know? And so I told my mom, I was like, how could this be of the devil when I'm telling you I met God and I want to be more godly? And that doesn't mean what a lot of people, it's not of this earth. It's hard to explain. So
there's a lady coming on the show who is a documentarian, and one of the things that we are hopefully going to talk about is how back in the day, and I don't know if that means like thousands of years ago, 1,000,000 years ago, but you know, she was saying, or through I have an initial phone call with most of my guests. I did it with you because we had met in person, but on the phone call, and then she also let me watch the documentary, even though it's not released yet, just so I could have an knowledge on what we should talk about. Is that used to be normal that everyone had shrooms and access to this, and how one of the questions I want to ask her is, does she have knowledge on like when did it become illegal in the United States? Has it always been illegal in the United States? And as I was watching the documentary, one of the thoughts that I had was, you know, in the Bible, when you're reading about the different people who had visions, were these people all just on shrooms?
Or DMT. They say the burning bush was a DMT bush full of frog venom.
That's what I'm starting to think, is like these visions that they had were really just them consuming DMT, or I don't know. What did you have?
I agree. Well, I also just got done listening to a podcast about this, and how like the halos around angels have been, now they're like, you know, a circle thing, but back in the day, if you look at really old pictures, they're actually mushroom caps. They have the striations of mushrooms and stuff like that. And so it'd be funny. It feels funny to say like the mushroom is our God, you know, like it's a mushroom. But I do think that the medicine when I was DMT is not a mushroom. It's what happens to it's in your pineal gland. That's what makes you dream. But having done mushrooms since, doesn't terrify me at all. Because I could look in the mirror on mushrooms and just laugh because I know what's happening is not as scary as what I had just gone through with the DMT. But also it's, I don't know, it's like scary, not scary, which is the whole process of doing it is just that. It is one thing and it is not another thing, but it makes sense.
Do you believe in God? And I don't necessarily mean the God of the Hebrew Bible.
I was going to say, which one? Who are we talking about here?
What's your, like, I've been asked this a couple times, especially with guests who have watched other episodes before coming on and they hear I was raised Christian and now I don't even know what word to define myself. Me and one guest looked it up. I think we decided we were agnostic. And what I mean by that is, I think I'm in one of two camps, and I'm not even sure which one I'm in. Sure. There's a part of me where I decided to move to Austin, Texas, because there's a ton of interesting people here to start a podcast, and because I work hard and I'm genuine, you know, it could just be chalked up to like, you've had the guests you've had on your show because I've worked really hard, and leave it at that. Then there's another side of me where, like Olivia, for example, I met her at Barton Springs through one of my friends hitting on her. Nice. And that just seems like too coincidental that I moved to Austin and we went on Barton Springs that day at that time, and he just happened to hit on her. And I overheard that she was a psychologist, and I hadn't had a psychologist on the show yet. So I was like, hey, I don't want to accidentally cockblock you or anything, but I could even tell her I'm gay. But like, I really want to invite her on the podcast because I love inviting people in person versus over Instagram or whatnot. And so then she comes on, and then we had our first phone call, and I had no idea that she was born into a sex cult. And so for all of these things to happen, I feel like it's too much to just say, oh, I just work hard, or it's just coincidence. Like, I think where I'm at right now is there's something out there that if you do work hard, it sort of helps us come together when we need to be there for each other. I don't know if I believe in coincidence, because that's just too many flipping coincidences.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like coincidence. Definitely. I think that old saying of like the people who you surround yourself with is who you become, and it's because of the energy that you're putting off and that you're giving, and so I have it's just, I can surround myself with really bad people, and I'm probably going to be a really bad person, a really shitty person, even though I'm probably a pretty good person, you know? And so I tell my mother-in-law this all the time. I go, I don't worry about a whole lot because for whatever reason, it's just always worked out for me, you know? And I've never been homeless when I should have been. I've never got my car impounded when it should have been. I've gotten it impounded, and the timing couldn't have been better because I had the money to get it out. You know, like even bad things that have happened to me, like I've learned from it and stuff. And so I think when you're doing podcasts, I think that people are going, I think too, you might be more hyper aware. Maybe if you weren't doing podcasts and you heard she was a psychologist, you'd be like, whatever. You know,
right?
Like, oh, just another girl you're hitting on. But I think you're also hyper aware of the people around you. Like, oh, this person's. And I think even just Joe Schmo walking down the street probably has a pretty fucking cool story. I think that we all live pretty cool lives and we just don't know it.
Yeah.
But
one of my
not saying that you're not special, because you are special.
Thank you. You're special too.
Thanks.
I do think one question that you just sort of answered, so I won't ask it, is I've asked a lot of people on the show as they've told their stories. Even Olivia, I'm pretty sure I asked her in hers. Maybe I didn't. But I'll ask them, you know, would you change anything? If you could, if I was a wizard and I could go back in time for you and change any part of your story, would you want me to do that for you? And all of them have pretty quickly and resoundingly said no, because then what if I hadn't met Ken? What if I didn't have my daughter? What if my life now is too special? And I'm so afraid that even if we took out the molestation, the parent that tried to drown the gay out of me, all of the things, I may have never got to where I'm at. And so that's probably my biggest takeaway of 2023 is that I know in my life.
How do you skip over the parent that tried to drown you? Who is that?
That was Matt Rex.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It was crazy. It was, I remember the 4 or 5 days after we recorded it, similar to you, but for different reasons, I found myself just bursting into tears because the thought that a parent could do that to a 7-year-old boy was just like, I don't even have kids. And I'm just like, what does it take for that man to get to a point where he's okay doing that? Like,
his own traumas, his own issues. Big time.
Yeah.
Dang.
He needs some DMT.
Everyone needs, no. I think everyone should experience some form of mind-altering substance. Not, that would be anything, but like psychedelic, something. Ketamine, DMT, psilocybin, ibogaine. Heard anything about ibogaine?
Mm-mm.
Ooh, I heard that's like the mother. I heard because it lasts a long time. Like it lasted in your system for days.
So how long? How long was yours? Hours,
8
minutes?
minutes.
That quick?
8 minutes. Yeah.
That's it. 8 minutes?
Even my friend was like, "How long do you think you were in there for?" And I was like, "I have no idea. There's no time in there," which is a part of the terrifying. So it's not terrifying of like, I mean, you think you're dead. You think you have just died, which is terrifying because you're not dead. So part of your mind is still trying to figure out what you're doing to it. And that's why they say it's like an ego death, because there's this part who's trying to control. It's the part you talk to the most when you're talking to yourself. I think there's like everyone has multiple personalities, if you will. But it's the part that's like, whoa, what are you doing? Stop. Why are we doing? No, don't go in there. Don't do that. And that's when you're in the DMT thing. It's like, the DMT is like, get the fuck out. And it is like, no. And it's like, yes, like it demands. And then when you are able to finally let it go, that's when the beautiful stuff starts happening. And it's really neat. Like I had for my thing was gestures. A lot of people see aliens and this and that. Mine was gestures. And I didn't realize until after it had happened that that's what it was. But it was this turning thing this way of black and white triangles going in multiple things. And then also every color on the spectrum you can think of. So, but primarily black and white. And it kept flipping up. And it was like a gesture head looking at me and being like, come with me. And it had these really long, sharp nails. And I just kept looking at it like, no, I'm not. And then finally I was like, okay. And then I was put into this like black, like looked like a universe. And I started laid down, and there was just these strands of like rainbow tentacles coming out. And all you feel, and anyone who's done like Molly or like the love stuff, 20,000 times, you just feel this immense love. And then I slowly started coming out of it, and I was like, no, take me back. So, but I think everyone should experience that, because you just have this whole new mindset of like what love means and what it is and how to treat people.
That sounds so up my alley. Yeah. I want to feel that.
I just gave my DMT pen away. Otherwise, we do it right here on the show.
One of my friends, he volunteered to. He was like, if you want to do the DMT, and I told him, I was like, well, I'm down, because if I don't want to put it out there, this isn't a live show.
Right.
So we could. Mm-hmm. I don't know. When
you come back, you're fully back.
So even though you didn't know it was 8 minutes, you were fully back in 8 minutes.
Yep. And when you're, like I said, there's no like, I mean, there's a little bit like, whoa. And the second time I did it, you could see the wind and how the wind flowed through I could see how it flowed. I'm not saying that right. Flowed through my room and then out and like down the stairs. I could see the energy, and that's the only thing. I don't even think it's energy, but it is what it is. And so you're kind of coming back, but then once it's gone, it's gone. So, which is really nice, because you can do it in the middle of the day and go to work.
I was going to say, this is a really bad analogy, but it's not like a hangover, because hangovers stick. But there is a clear start and a clear end.
There is a hangover, and a lot of people don't talk about this hangover, and it lasts for a really long time, but weird things you start noticing. I was like, and it's a little psychosis a little bit, but I heard my dad's voice a lot. If I did any other substances, if I drank, if I, caffeine even, like I would have weird, If I ate bad, for instance, I would feel awful. And there'd be something in my head being like, told you shouldn't have eaten that. You knew better, which wasn't there before. And so it's almost like they say it's a medicine. It really is. You know, I heard my dad's voice and I was like, man, I should call my dad. You know, or I was at a festival and we were doing all kinds of fun things. And it was in those moments where I kept having these revelations of things. And I think that it was a lot of the DMT was still like in my system of repairing, if that makes sense.
I thought it was interesting, the comment you made about how some things you didn't realize until 4 to 5 months had passed.
Yeah. Like what? What do you mean?
No, just that's the
after the DMT or the yeah.
So you just elaborated on it, that it wasn't just those 8 minutes, that it was.
I called my brother and I was like, I saw Charla. You
Who's
know,
that?
his wife who passed away. And I had this beautiful, a total different representation of than what, you know, I just saw her coming out in this white cloak and she was surrounded by all these. So she passed away and she left 5 kids. And 2 of them, the youngest, were 7 months old. So from 7 months to 3 years old, because she boom, boom, boom had these, and she passed away. And I just saw her, and and it's probably not true of where she is, but in my head, I was like, how could God take somebody and need them more than who these 5 souls down here need her? I mean, who could possibly need her more? You know, it didn't settle well with me. And I saw her, and it was like she was taking care of all these little orphans up there. And it was the most beautiful thing I've ever seen in my life. And I called my brother, and I was like, I saw Charla. And I think it had a lot to do with you just open something. When you take psychedelics, just something opens in you. That I was doing it for my mom. This wasn't supposed to affect me, but it did. So I'm happy for it.
I'm happy too. Do you believe, for lack of a better term, in the paranormal? You know, you could call
Not
it...
really.
Not really.
Like ghosts and... Okay.
Well, so what would you call... When you saw... What was your brother's wife's name?
Charla.
When you saw Charla, what do you think you were seeing, if you had to put a word or a sentence to it?
Just an energy. I had closed my eyes and I felt like I was in, again, that universe setting. And she was just there as this energy. But I knew she was Charla. She didn't look like Charla. She didn't have a body. She wasn't a she. She was literally just like this. But I knew it was Charla. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So, but do I believe in paranormal? Sure. I mean, after doing DMT, I believe in everything and nothing. Yeah. Like, if it's that powerful, then yeah, sure. Demons and ghosts.
There's a guy who on the show who had his dad, I forget the name of the disease, but his dad had a very rare disease. And his doctors thought that he was going to die, the father. And so they went on a family vacation thinking that this was going to be their last family vacation and let's enjoy some time together before I pass away. They're in a restaurant and the dad got up to go do something. And a guy that they've never met walks over to the table. And the disease isn't evident. It's all internal. So It's not like you could look at someone and be like, you have that. Guy walks over to the table and tells the wife, you need to do this and this and this. Tell the doctors about A, B, and C, and gives her like some very clear set of directions for what type of surgery to do, what medicine to take. This long list of what to do. Mom's furiously writing it all down. And after she thanks him, he goes into the bathroom, which does not have another exit. Dad comes back, and the wife is like hysterical about, oh my God, honey, look what we need to give your doctor. This man just gave me all this information. We need to see what your doctors think about this. And the dad was like, I have to thank this guy. And so he goes into the bathroom, and he's not there.
It's wild.
So he was like,
that's incredible.
Do I believe in guardian angels or an energy or paranormal? He's like, I don't really care what word you put to it. But do I believe that there is something out there that we don't understand that maybe one day we will, maybe one day we won't? Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Yeah, for sure. I never thought what I saw was even capable. I mean, my brain is not capable of making up what I saw. Even in dreams, when I have dreams, I can think back like, oh yeah, I was watching this show and it relates to that. But what you see is not something that you can come up with in your wild imagination. I have a new appreciation for when you see like psychedelic paintings and stuff. I'm like, oh, I get it. And that doesn't even scratch the surface of what it is like to be in there.
Yeah.
And so with what you saying with it, I always just wonder why they pick and choose certain people and not others. I'm fascinated. Why choose him to tell his wife like, oh, you're dying and not that person? And but I think that's just a human struggle of we should all be saved.
Yeah. Well, when you were saying that, like, who could need her more, it's almost like, what if that guy's family is saying the exact same thing, but he needed to be here to give, who knows how many families has this entity appeared to? True. To help them find healing.
Yeah. I will say when Charlotte passed away, I was holding one of the twins and I had this. I was just feeding him, I was holding both of them and I was looking at, there's Daxton and there's Parker and I'm feeding him and I'm looking down at Daxton and I remember getting this overwhelming like feeling of love. And I thought, at my young age, I was just like, oh, wow, this is what it must be like when you become a mom. You're going to get this feeling of unconditional love. And so then I became a mom and I didn't get that feeling towards her. And I was like, what's wrong with me? Because I had yearned for that feeling, and that's what a primary reason why I wanted to become a mom. Not a primary, but one of them, I was like, oh, I can't wait to get this feeling when I become a mom. Well, it didn't happen. And so now that I'm older, I can look back and think, I think it was just the presence of Charlotte there when I was holding him and her like, that feeling through me to him and stuff. So, I believe in those things.
First podcast ever.
Second. Okay.
I feel like I just extracted like a lie from you or something.
I went on a podcast in like when podcasts weren't even a thing. I mean, we didn't have headphones. We had one little microphone that we passed on, and it was about dating. I used to work for It's Just Lunch. And so they were talking about like dating and men, and I think I said like 2 words on it, but it was years ago. I don't count it. It wasn't like
real
this.
Podcast.
Yes, first
in a
real
studio,
podcast.
cameras.
Yes.
I mean, it's definitely over the top. If there's any new podcaster that has to listen to this, you do not need all this. You could still get, if you have the newest iPhone and you just wanted to play around with 8, 9, 10 episodes, see if you like it, and then start investing, you can. But part of the reason I did this is because I wanted it to be an experience. I wanted the guest, as soon as when you walk through the front door, let me ask you this, and you saw everything, what was your reaction?
I said, wow, this is a great setup.
Cool. Yeah, you did. That's right.
I've never seen anything like this.
So yeah, I part of it is for everyone that sits in that chair. I want them to feel like I'm not half-assing this, and that I don't know. I sort of feel like I enter another world when I'm in here, as weird as that is to say.
It definitely doesn't feel like I'm sitting in your dining room.
I also have a rule for myself that I don't turn any of this on if we're not recording. So when you leave, the first thing I do, that gets shut off. The LEDs get shut off. Those lights get shut off, and the cameras get just turned off and moved next to the wall. But I don't know if there's anything scientific behind that, but I do just feel like don't fuck with the energy. Like it's only on if we're recording.
Oh, okay.
Sort of thing.
Yeah.
I have a new tradition. Well, first off, thank you so much for your time.
Of course.
I never know how long these are going to go.
Yeah.
Before I ask you my final questions for you, is there anything else you wanted to talk about?
We hit a lot of topics.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, I could talk to you all day about any of those. So I think we hit everything.
Thank you so much.
Of course, my pleasure. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah.
It's been fun.
I have a new tradition that I'm starting.
Okay.
And I've been liking it so far, where if I'm listening to a podcast and they have a question I really like, I want to ask it here just for fun.
Okay.
So the one I'm going to throw at you is... I know which one it is. Let me just find it. Okay. If you could impose a global law, but only one global law, what would it be and why?
A global law. Oh, gosh. Stop hurting the kids.
Like if you hurt
a kid,
that's you get
already
your hand chopped
law.
off, or... Yeah, I mean, we must have such, like
We have
child
laws
abuse laws in the U.S., but is it global? And are they effective? Would you want to maybe amend a current law?
Yeah, I just think I don't know. When I'm partial to, I feel like everyone should be partial to kids, but I feel like, yeah, stop the child trafficking, stop the trafficking with everyone, really. But that's already a law, too. I haven't thought this one through. I
didn't realize in Roseville, the Galleria I don't have any stats. I don't know if it happens once a month, 10 times a day. Apparently, that's that's a place for child trafficking.
Well, the U.S. is like the #1 export of children. So
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Houston, Dallas, some of the biggest trafficking happens there, which is sad.
I usually don't like to answer the questions for you, but because of the way our conversation went, I almost thought you were going to say let's just legalize DMT everywhere.
Oh my
god. Or
gosh.
psychedelics.
I was going to say like global law, everyone should just be more kind, which means we all need to get a dose of reality. And you know what it is that people don't realize that people who commit suicide, people who are that you don't get to come back. I think our ego is such that like, I'm just going to come back. I'm going to show you all and then I'm going to come back. But you don't get to come back. When you do DMT, you die and you get a taste of that. So when you come back, you just have a whole new appreciation for your own life and everyone else's life and how even like talking about the children and stuff, like, I don't know if I would want them to die because that's not for me to say, and I'm not, but yeah, I think globally, everyone at a certain age should have to do DMT. I'm going to stick with that.
I love that.
Yes.
There's in terms of kindness, it was interesting because back in November, I heard these two dudes making fun of another dude in the gym, and what they were saying was complete shit in the sense of like, it was really mean. And what's interesting is that I know the guy that they were making fun of. And if the guy that was doing the shit talking and the guy that they were making fun of, if the two of them had the opportunity to meet, they would be friends.
It's always that way.
It's wild to me. But he didn't give him a chance because he was judging him by his exterior and he didn't even know his name.
Some of my best friends were my worst enemies in high school. So I think it's.
It's funny. There's this one, was he Navy? There's a guy in the military who, him and another guy in his unit were butting heads, would be putting it lightly. Like they hated each other. And not my guess, but the guy that he hated was drowning in a body of water, and he was the only one that noticed, and he jumped in and he saved his life, and now they're two very close friends.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was a really cool story.
Yeah, I always look at people and think, I may not be friends with them, and now that I'm older and I'm friends with them, it's like, man, I could have totally been friends with you back then, and vice versa.
Yeah.
Especially growing up, and I was talking about this with a friend in dating. It was like, I have talked to a lot of high school guys that were like, oh yeah, we always had a crush on you, and I'm like, what? And they're like, yeah, you had a lot of guy friends, so we just always thought that you were taken. And had I known that back then, it probably would have not been a good thing for me. So it's probably good that they kept that under wraps. But
that would be a sort of a cool thing if you could somehow get the knowledge to find out who's had a crush on you at some point in time.
Some of them are just through Facebook. You just start chatting, and he's like, oh yeah, I always had a crush on you, and I'm like, what? Okay.
Yeah.
Good to know now.
Now that I'm married, I have my kid, my house, my life. Yeah. No, that's awesome.
So, but yeah.
Well, this has been so much fun.
Yeah,
you did an amazing job.
Thank you.
I think all the nerves are probably out by now. Yeah.
There's still a little there. A little bit.
You did so good.
Thank you.
You're such a natural. I couldn't tell if it makes you feel better.
The fidgeting.
Well, I shake a lot, but I don't think it's nerves. It's like a weird twitch. I don't know what it is, but.
Okay. Well, I fidget.
And I bounce my leg.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Shaneen, this has been awesome. To everyone that tuned in with us, we're probably going to cut 5 or 10 minutes out of that bathroom break. But if you stuck with us for 2.5+ hours, I'm assuming you liked the episode. You'd be wildly crazy if you listened to this and hated it. So since you liked it, my ask of you is share it with one other person, whether that's a friend, a colleague, your workout partner, someone who maybe has been thinking about DMT but is not convinced, whoever you think could get a lot of...
I'm going to be ousted from the competing.
No, you won't. No, you won't. But yeah, share it with one person. And in the meantime, guys, I hope that you stay healthy, stay happy, and we will see you next Saturday night. Bye, everyone.